What bad intentions could Batman have? This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76, Fight. No one in this world can predict everything. Clouds roll and springs flow. The development of everything in this world is just like them, with unpredictable changes. One thing affects the whole body, and variables bring new variables. Even Brainiac can't calculate all the possibilities, but Batman can. Because Batman will make everyone think he can do it, and everyone will believe that he can do it. So every time, he can really do it, no matter how lucky it is. And I'm Batman. But I'm not Batman. I'm Chen Tao, a time traveler, an imperfect mortal. I guess Bruce Wayne is the same. But Batman is always perfect. Therefore, what is important is not who the face under the mask is, but that at this moment, the mask is here. Batman is here. I saw Bane yelling into the phone. His voice was lofty and distant, as if it was separated from my world by a thick film, as if it was very unreal, but as if it was close at hand. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and find a way to get the things back. What? Your leader was kidnapped? Who was captured? Birdman, zombie, cave dweller. I used an unplanned chess piece to steal his trump card that he thought no one knew, although I still don't know how he knew the location where the Penguin hid the nuclear bomb, and whether there was someone helping him behind the scenes. But all of this is meaningless. Bane will never have the chance to use that nuclear bomb to scare anyone again. I can hear the anger, disappointment, and regret in that voice. This is what Bane intended to inflict on me. But now he is reaping the fruits of his own labor. I can't imagine that I did all this. Bane is too focused on the Court of Owls and doesn't know me well enough. And I happen to know him very well. Click. Bane hung up the phone. He looked at Chen Tao steadily, and the rage of a tsunami condensed in his body and finally settled. You're good, he said. You did a good job. A green plant sprout suddenly broke through the flesh on the other side of his body and grew out. Drops of blood oozed out of his skin, and then there was an unsettling squirming sound on that half of his body. Bane was indifferent. Wearing a hood, it was impossible to tell what his expression was. This change only lasted for half a second, making people wonder if he had seen it wrong just now. He slowly retreated. He had decided to escape. He knew he could escape. If he wanted to escape, no one could stop him, not even the current Batman. This was not the best time to have a final battle with Batman. He was alone and defeated, while the other side had more people and more power. So he slowly retreated. This kind of retreat seemed to have happened many times when facing Batman. The other side's figure slowly overlapped in Bane's eyes. On the garbage mountain, in the slaughter swamp, at this moment, he used different methods to escape and retreat, and Batman just stood there, always like this. It was really unwilling. But it doesn't matter. He is a patient hunter. This city belongs to Batman, and he has countless chances to fail. But as long as he wins once, just once, the city will change hands. Even though he failed so many times, and was forced back by Batman again and again, Bane never doubted that he could not take the city. Even though he failed so many times, he never doubted himself. He repeatedly emphasized to himself in his heart. He said, we will meet again, Batman. I'm a necessary evil, Batman. Chen Tao understood what Bane said. In some philosophical theories, the state's social system is considered a necessary evil because it restricts absolute freedom. The system is essentially the suppression and restriction of personal freedom, the suppression, punishment, and deterrence of individual evil, and it suppresses the animal side of human nature. But this power of the system is given by the people, and Bane calls himself a necessary evil. On the surface, he has found a just reason for his evil deeds, as if his theory is no different from the dark constraints of the Riddler and the Joker's bad day. But in fact, when Bane said this, he tacitly assumed that he represented a just system and order, the order in the cruel world that he learned and got used to in the prison where he was born. Therefore, for Bane, all his actions were not a challenge to the existing order, but a collision between one order and another. He killed people, He robbed nuclear bombs, and he did all kinds of bad things, but he knew that he was an orderly citizen, and he followed his own order. But obviously, his necessary evil skipped the most important link of being given power by the people, and he was the most thorough dictator. Chen Tao was speechless that he understood Bane's meaning and saw through his nature in just 2 short sentences. Can normal people really understand Bane's incoherent words? Maybe I'm not so normal. Chen Tao thought so. He tried to turn his head away and pretend that he didn't understand what Bane was saying at all, but his clear eyes at that moment had already made Bane know it well. Bane's face under the mask grinned, but soon he couldn't smile anymore. Yes, we will meet soon, and sooner than you think, Bane. Chen Tao said, you also heard what the person on the phone said to you. Your 3 men, the 3 men who grew up with you and fought out of prison together, the birdman, the caveman and the zombie. They have all been captured by me. Bane's slow retreat paused. So do you understand? Now the situation has changed, Bane, my enemy with extraordinary brute force. I hope you can understand. The offensive and defensive situation has been reversed. There is no such good thing as you can come and go as you please. Chen Tao told him, 4 days. In 4 days, I will see you in Arkham Asylum. Hehehe. Chen Tao laughed softly. Don't worry, I'm definitely not a villain without bottom line. You know, you are the villain in the story, the kind of urban legend that parents use to scare their children. I'm a decent superhero, and I will not do such things as killing people. Killer Croc, who was standing nearby, tried hard to suppress the urge to roll his eyes, then suddenly shuddered again, turned his head abruptly, and dared not look at Chen Tao again. If you hadn't come, I wouldn't have done anything particularly bad to them. After all, I'm not a demon. Chen Tao told Bane, I would just chop them up bit by bit. Have you heard of the Pool of Lazarus? The Fountain of Youth? I assure you that they will never die. Of course, you can bring your troops and men with you at that time. Those superstitious and blindly obedient criminals, simple-minded muscular men and killers, if you think they can be of use, you can bring them all. If the existence of this group of cheerleaders can give you even a little confidence. 4 days later? Chen Tao asked. Bane was silent for a moment. 4 days later, he said. Chapter 77 Inventory. While Bane and Chen Tao were happily chatting, the Joker stood alone by the side. Poison Ivy was still reinforcing Harley Quinn's cocoon, and Deadshot and the Cheshire Cat were bandaging the wounds of the Arkham people lying on the ground. No one could guarantee that they would not be injured in such a chaotic battlefield, and the Arkham people were not without losses. Although the most important ones would not be finished in a battle of this level, those ordinary villains with more difficult levels might not be. A madman from Arkham, named Heyoksha, just took his last breath. He was a paranoid maniac who always fantasized that he was a swordsman from the last century. Then it was obvious that the muscle claw assassin of the Court of Owls used his balloon-like muscles to teach him what real swordsmanship was. Before he died, this guy was shouting real swordsmanship is the technique of splitting a person in half, and then died calmly. Born from madness and died from madness, it can be regarded as a consistent ending. Everyone seemed to be busy negotiating, busy dying suddenly, busy using plants to stick to their besties. No one noticed him. No one noticed the Joker. Penguin wanted to say this righteously, but the tough words just came to his lips, and before they came out, they immediately withered. His eyes swept over each person at the scene. What made the Joker sad was that from beginning to end, Batman's eyes were full of Bane, and he didn't even look at him. Oswald, I have a question for you. Penguin heard the other party say, you told me before that you sold a nuclear bomb for $500 million, and the remaining one was stolen by Bane, right? I won't leak the customer's information to you, a superhero. Robin's main defense is Scarecrow, but he definitely has other expected targets. But fortunately, everything is calm. The malice in the Joker's eyes became more and more intense. Who is the buyer of that nuclear bomb? He has made plans for most things. At least it's taken away from Gotham, said Penguin. He finally breathed a sigh of relief. Chen Tao finally felt a little relieved. Are you sure he took the nuclear bomb away? Oh my god, they're gone. Batman. The Penguin wiped the sweat from his head. Today is really, after getting Robin's answer without any abnormality, Chen Tao fell into deep thought. That was 4 or 5 years ago. A man in a trench coat with a London accent, Oswald said. He was not from Gotham. You can tell he came from outside. He was very arrogant and quick to act. He bought it all at once. The Penguin said, yes, that's right. What's wrong? He walked to the middle of the large group of defeated claws. Batman calling Robin. Chen Tao pressed his finger on the communication beside his ear. Is there anything unusual? But he didn't do anything in the end. Chen Tao made sure that the Joker always appeared in his peripheral vision until he and Bane disappeared around the corner of the street. But before he could finish his words, he was pulled to the other side by Chen Tao. Warning, it has been detected that you hold the anchoring prop, the broken leg of the claw, the broken hand of the claw, the half hip of the claw, the brain of the claw. He picked and chose among the corpses, simple as a vegetable farmer harvesting his own farmland, with a bright and cheerful smile on his face. Although most of these claws provided some messy ordinary garbage Batman, they still gave a lot of crisis energy, and occasionally, some valuable gold could be found in the garbage. He held a claw's brain in his hand. Crisis energy converted, total 123. Crisis energy units you currently hold. 207. Warning, downloading targetable Batman files. Clawbat, danger level, E. In a dark multiverse, Bruce Wayne replaced Dick Grayson and became the Claw of the Court of Owls. After becoming Batman, Bruce Wayne found himself helpless against the numerous criminal activities in Gotham. The Court of Owls extended an olive branch to him who was at his wit's end and led him to fall. Bruce Wayne gradually realized that if you want to fight the darkness of this city, you must first completely become him. What does Chen Tao value? It's amber gold. Do you want to consume 19 units of crisis energy immediately to synchronize? But now is not the time to transform on the spot. Chen Tao plans to put it aside for now. He continued to swim in the farmland, harvesting more and more crisis energy. But ordinary people don't understand what Chen Tao is doing, so everyone just watched Batman walk to the pile of corpses, touch left and right, and occasionally put the broken hands and feet on his nose to smell. Is it really okay? I don't think he looks like a normal person. Penguin whispered to Deadshot. I think Batman has gone crazy. Deadshot glanced at him sideways and rolled his eyes. Lincoln March was also shocked by the situation. He walked over hesitantly. Ah, you're fine. Chen Tao patted his shoulder with satisfaction and threw a skeleton aside. He walked towards Lincoln March. Come on, follow me back to the Batcave. We are allies now. The claw mask in his hand fell off. Under the effect of amber gold, he did not die, but was grimly baring his teeth. Lincoln March was sure that this was an ancestor of a certain generation of the Wayne family. He didn't know what to say. Mr. Freeze walked to Chen Tao's side. What are you going to do with us? He was a little bruised. Half of his armor was torn by a huge wound, and a claw slashed him. Although it did not cause fatal injuries, it was still dangerous. He looked at the Arkham people who were sitting or lying on the ground. Basic chip control can't make them play their best combat power. That's right, so we have to let the lunatics in Arkham play some subjective initiative. Mr. Freeze nodded. This is reasonable. For example, Firefly, a firefly that was controlled by the mind and kicked around and sprayed with a flamethrower, can't compare with a super arsonist who has a brain and can make strategies. Then, if we plan to play the real power of the Arkham people, we should rule them with an iron fist and let them know that you are the king of criminals. Mr. Freeze answered in his heart, just like training a dog, train these lunatics. Mr. Freeze's weakness is too obvious, so he has never been the leader of the Arkham people. But this does not prevent him from thinking about what he should do if he wants to lead the entire Arkham Asylum. For these lunatics, you can only suppress them if you are more fierce, more evil, and more crazy than them. They are all a bunch of hopeless psychopaths who can only be controlled by fear. I understand. If we want to control the criminals in Arkham, we should start by curing their madness. This answer suddenly interrupted Mr. Freeze's original vision of the Arkham Conqueror army, just like the TV was broadcasting the last program, and then suddenly the power went out. What did you say? Chapter 78 Training. The third generation Robin Tim sat in the seat that originally belonged to Batman in front of the Bat computer in the Batcave. Nothing happened tonight. He had been checking the surveillance for 3 hours. He had even done 1,700 push-ups in front of the computer because he was bored. He still had energy to spare. This young, strong, explosive body seemed to never feel tired. After years of training and persistent practice, it was ready to face all challenges. Laughing to death, there was no challenge at all. Tim was discouraged. JPG. He stared blankly at the surveillance that seemed to have not changed at all and began to think uncontrollably. Is there a possibility that the Arkham villains suddenly formed a group to attack the Batcave? Tim knew that this was impossible, but it did not prevent him from fantasizing about that scene. Many Arkham villains formed a group to invade. Batman was surrounded and kicked in the circle, and the powerful third-generation Robin turned the tide. Haha, there's really something wrong with my eyes. Damn it, stop thinking about these nonsense. He coughed lightly and sat up straight again. Tim, is the most reliable person in Gotham and will always stick to his duties. Okay. How could something like the Arkham villains invading the Batcave happen? He shook his head. Although this is not the main base under Wayne Manor, it is also one of Batman's largest sub-bases in Gotham City. Whether it is security or scale, it is definitely strong enough. Tim closed the door directly. Oh. Batman and the others are back. Tim noticed the access control authentication submitted on the Bat computer. He immediately opened it, then jumped directly over the huge mechanical dinosaur in the center of the hall, ran to the entrance, and opened the door. He knocked down the Riddler with one punch, knocked down the Scarecrow with 2 punches. Mr. Freeze and Firefly fled. Killer Croc knelt down and begged for mercy. The human-faced Bat was stepped on by him, and Dr. Pig-faced was grabbed by the head and slapped left and right. Both faces of Two-Face showed a look of horror. Batman's voice came from outside the door, and Tim took a deep breath. In this way, Batman could see his face the first time he came down the corridor. Robin, open the door quickly. What's going on? He patted his cheek. The scene in the fantasy was so beautiful that Tim couldn't help laughing. But he soon woke up and looked around. You're kidding. The scene in the fantasy is reflected in the reality. What a joke. Bang. Amid the other party's screams of pain and smoke, Alfred patted his shoulders with relief and gave him a loving hug. The bruised Batman took off his clothes and gave them to him, then said, "From now on, you will inherit the mantle of Batman." He opened the door, and the big head of Mr. Freeze wearing red glasses immediately appeared in front of him. He subconsciously threw a punch, and then was hit by Mr. Freeze's cold finger the next second. Fortunately, no one saw it. The big monster with superpowers, Clayface, was knocked down by him in a few seconds, and then he turned around and kicked Dr. Phosphorus in the heart. After knocking the skeleton down, he kicked his skull fiercely and then took out a bottle of solution and poured it on him. He leaned against the thick iron door and stopped for 2 seconds, then started laughing out of breath. "I hope you know what politeness is." Tim groaned in pain and immediately retracted his hand. He moved his fingers. Mr. Freeze is a supernatural human with a body temperature of at least -100 degrees below zero, which means that if he releases cold air, even the simplest contact can cause frostbite. Tim's training made him retract his fist before he actually came into contact, but he was still bitten by the cold air. Mr. Freeze ignored the dazed Tim, walked past him, and went straight in. This warning, invasion detected. The huge mechanical dinosaur just started to start and immediately turned off the engine under Batman's control. Tim numbly watched many Arkham villains file into the Batcave, just like elementary school students returning from a spring outing swarming off the big bus to go back to school. "Why can you come in so familiarly and sit on the sofa in the rest area next to you?" Tim was almost confused by the attitude of these Arkham Asylum felons, as if they were returning to their hometown. He saw Flamingo and Scarecrow holding hands, walking side by side, and then lying straight on the sofa together, like 2 elegant salted fish, and didn't even look at him sideways when passing by. Then the next second, the 2 of them were sat on by Two-Face and Firefly. Two-Face's butt was directly pressed on Flamingo's hooked nose, and the professional killer who liked to wear pink had a dull expression on his face, and didn't even hum. Oh, Tim finally realized that something was wrong. He shouldn't be so slow. He just didn't react for a while. These guys didn't seem to have self-awareness. Dr. Phosphorus, the skeleton with a burning body, was the last to come in. Tim saw Batman waved his hand, and a burst of black sand swirled around his skull. Dry phosphorus is special. The phosphorus burning all over his body will make all the chips invalid, so I have to manually change his brain waves constantly. It's hard to imagine that he still has a brain to control when he is like this. Tim heard Batman say, "Okay, Batman." Tim slapped his head with a headache. "I roughly know how you operate it." Tim is not stupid, but quite smart, and he is the most talented detective generation of Robin in the Bat family. Even though Chen Tao hadn't told him anything about his plan, he was able to quickly deduce most of the things after seeing the situation in front of him. But this only made him even angrier. Our third generation Robin beat his chest and stamped his feet, heartbroken. "I can't believe Batman, you actually betrayed me again. You deliberately didn't tell me the plan. How could you do this? I'm your Robin, your Robin. You can't always leave me." Tim kept chattering, and Batman looked away. Tim knew that was a sign of guilt. "Look at me, TSK." Tim turned his head and saw Mr. Freeze pouring him a cup of coffee. With a squeeze of his hand, the coffee froze into ice slag, and then he poured it into his mouth and chewed it. "Make me one too." Holly Quinn stood beside him and handed her coffee to him. Mr. Freeze helped her cool it. Killer Croc, Poison Ivy, and Ventriloquist, the Arkham people who joined Batman at the beginning and therefore remained conscious, were squatting beside him and watching with interest. Tim stopped talking sullenly. Then he turned his head to look at the Clayface, who was obviously conscious beside Batman. "What's going on with you, Bazo?" "Bazo Carroll, the original name of Clayface. I'm not Bazo Carroll," Clayface replied. His huge body quickly shrank back, and a Robin uniform soon transformed on his body. "I'm Batman's favorite Robin." Chapter 79 Promise. Tim was stunned. "Who am I? Where am I? Is this really the Batcave?" Tim was lost in thought. A violent brainstorm swept through his mind. The mystery of the Big Bang was repeated in his 1.4 kilograms human brain in just a few seconds. Tim felt a burst of steam burst out of his head. Chen Tao pulled him aside awkwardly. "This is a necessary method, just like an irresistible social engagement," he explained. "Bazo Caro, the real name of the Clayface, is a thorough performing personality. I don't know if you fully understand his essence," he continued in a low voice. "Under that body, his life is empty. After the accident, Bazo Caro disappeared completely, and the only thing left was a body that was constantly driven by a broken self in pursuit of pure performance. He would beat up the original owner, and then throw him somewhere far away from Gotham, in a mess, and then replace the other person, until the original owner comes back. I had written it before. As early as when I went to deal with the ventriloquist, I thought about how to control the Clayface. For these mentally ill lunatics, the essential core operating ideas are different, but they are in the same vein." Chen Tao said. "He is pursuing an acting career, so I might as well give him a script that is challenging enough. I know very well, Batman. I completely understand the decision you made. I'm fine." Tim took 2 deep breaths and barely regained his sanity. "Remember the first time we faced him? This book is written specifically to target Bazo Caro's weaknesses. Everything in it is what Robin would do. From Arkham to the Batcave, how to become Batman's favorite Robin." He glanced at the book. "How was Batman's favorite Robin made? What super rules do you need to follow to become Robin? How do you gain Batman's favor and regard you as his only one?" Chen Tao added, "Yes, another kind of madness that cannot be deduced by common sense. Bazo Caro has no purpose. His only purpose is to play a role. And the ability to transform, that his superpowers bring him, just makes him the best actor in the world. He pretended that he would be restrained by electric current, and then performed a lifelike death. Before that, he disguised himself as various people in Gotham City. I actually don't want to know what's written on it at all. Has this book been written before? This book was written by Batman. The answers are all in this book. Everyone can become Robin. All they need to do is read this great book," he added. But strangely, the anger seemed to be suppressed by something else, so it didn't surge into his heart at all. Tim felt that he should be angry. He should have every reason to be angry. Tim looked at the other person. There was a small performance booklet stuck on his huge palm. Tim glanced down and saw that it said, "Yes, that's right." Chen Tao answered him. He was still immersed in his plan to manipulate the clay face through various despicable means. The subtitle below is Bazo Carroll's Youth Robin Diary. A righteous life does not need explanation. On the back was written, upper class gentlemen, sanitation workers sweeping the roadside, women, men, children eating lollipops, school teachers, doctors, no matter what the role is, as long as Bazo Carroll finds it challenging, he will start playing these people in the next period of time. Tim was no longer in the mood to listen to Batman continue. "You have to show me this booklet later," he said righteously. "I must criticize it deeply." Chen Tao didn't understand what the other party was thinking, so he nodded and said, "Okay, I'll open it on the Bat computer and show it to you later. I want one too. I want one too." Harley Quinn raised her hand excitedly. "Make one for me too." She put on a boxing posture and laughed twice. The first female Robin in history. Harley Quinn's Robin Career Diary. Stay tuned, it's a grand series. There was silence. Poison Ivy, a good friend, pulled the corner of Harley Quinn's clothes in Tim's murderous eyes. "Why are you pulling me? I want to." Woo-woo. Before Harley Quinn could finish her words, Poison Ivy controlled a bunch of plants to block her mouth. She smiled apologetically at Tim and made a gesture to continue. Chen Tao ignored the little movements between the few people. He gave a few brief commands to the Bat computer, and then dozens of hidden lifting transparent glass cages rose from the underground of the Batcave hall. He called Killer Croc, Ventriloquist and Holly, and asked them to stuff all the villains controlled by the chip into them one by one. While several people were working, he made a video call to Alfred, Batman to Pennywise. "How long will it take for the Claw assassins to be transported back?" "About an hour and a half." Alfred, who was facing the painting, pulled the joystick, and the mechanical arm of the Batplane grabbed a bunch of unfortunate claws that were still twitching and missing limbs. "Just like grabbing dolls in a claw machine. There are too many of them. I have to grab them for a while longer." The old butler sighed. "I can't believe I have to put them all together later. I haven't played with assembly toys for more than 60 years, since I threw the jigsaw puzzle aside at the age of 4. And now I have to put together hundreds of incomplete limbs at once." "Thanks for the hard work," Chen Tao said. "It's not hard. This is what I should do, sir." Alfred shook his head and said, "They can help you, right? These claws can become your strength and help you fight Bane, even if it only consumes a little of his physical strength." He said, "They can make you no longer have wounds, right?" "Yes." Chen Tao answered him. "The claws are indeed a fighting force that cannot be ignored. They are very useful." "Then what I did is meaningful," Alfred said. "About that 4 days later, promise me that you must return safely, okay?" Chen Tao was silent for a while. Alfred is not the kind of person who will repeatedly emphasize to others what he has paid, but today he is out of character. He knows what the other party is thinking. The old butler just wants to use his own efforts to catch his poor little Bruce. The old man just stubbornly wants to get a promise to return safely. Whether this promise can be fulfilled or not, it is not something he can decide. He just wants this promise. "I will," Chen Tao assured him. "We agreed to live in seclusion, remember? I promised you. We'll go to Fiji, or the Hawaiian Islands, or Metropolis, a place where no one knows us. After the Gotham thing is over, I will retire with you." Batman promised. "I will come back safely. I have a lot of villains from Arkham Asylum now. They will come before me," Chen Tao said, "with them consuming Bane's energy. I won't lose." Alfred lowered his head slightly, making it difficult to see the expression on his face, and then the next moment, it turned into a bright smile like the clear sky. "Okay. We agreed, Bruce. You must keep your promise. Okay." They hung up the call. Chen Tao took a deep breath, stood up, and walked into one of the transparent cages. He snapped his fingers, and the prisoner in the cage was immediately released from the control of the chip. "Harvey Dent, Two-Face old friend," Chen Tao said, "I need your help. Don't even think about it. Even if I, Two-Face, die of boredom and jump off Arkham, I won't help Batman at all." Chen Tao narrowed his eyes. "It's not up to you. Hehe. Thank you all for your award." Chapter 80, A Just Cause. It was about 7 PM in the Batcave. Many Arkham villains had been stuffed into the transparent prison. As soon as Chen Tao released the chip control for them, they immediately began to perform what was called a group of demons dancing wildly. What are you doing? Be quiet. Harley Quinn pretended to be a prison guard between the cages. She swung a baseball bat and knocked on the transparent tempered glass twice. Want to fight with me? Ugh, little girl. Flamingo jumped up and lay on the glass, licking it with her tongue and howling. You are just a follower of the Joker. Sooner or later, I will chew your face. Harley was furious. Don't mention it in front of me. She tried to rush up to open the transparent prison and rush into fight with Flamingo, but before that, she was easily swept away by Poison Ivy's vines. Well, bad coffee tastes really good, she said while drinking coffee leisurely, although it is made from the corpse of coffee beans. Behind her, Harley Quinn, who was held upside down in the air, punched and kicked the air. Killer Croc and Mr. Freeze sat together playing poker. Judging from the pile of banknotes next to Mr. Freeze, Killer Croc seemed to have lost a lot. Glad you like it. The ventriloquist was attentive and holding the coffee pot next to him. Robin, thank you for telling me where the coffee is. Tim sat next to him with an unhappy look on his face. I can't believe that I will drink coffee in the Batcave one day. The Penguin sat next to him with a small plate of snacks in front of him. He threw a macaron into his mouth. In the past, I came here when I was beaten black and blue. Unlike now, he turned his head and said to Robin, hey, Wonder Boy, the snacks are finished, go get some more. He saw that the other party clenched his fists, so he immediately said, hey, what do you want to do? Batman asked you to treat us well. Tim finally went to get the snacks angrily. I hope you die of snacks soon. After he left, Penguin said, oh my god, he really went. I didn't expect him to be so obedient. After all, I think we are now on the side of justice. Poison Ivy replied with great satisfaction, this is exactly what I have thought about. You know, the prodigal son returns, washes his hands, and the American dream. She opened her hands. I'm very sure that we are devoting ourselves to the cause of justice. Penguin took a sip of coffee. Behind them were the howling monsters. He said, I'm not sure we, but he was interrupted before he finished speaking. The violent screams resounded throughout the Batcave. This hoarse wailing scared the coffee out of Penguin's hooked nose. He coughed loudly, then turned his head, and was horrified to find that Batman was directly pressing the red-hot iron against Two-Face's face with a perverted and twisted smile on his face. Ha 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 ha. Hiss. Penguin couldn't help but take a breath. The hall, which was originally full of demons, gradually became quiet. Many Arkham villains who were making noises just now looked at each other and gradually stopped their noisy actions in embarrassment. Penguin swallowed his saliva. He whispered to Poison Ivy, are you sure we are doing a just cause? Chen Tao put the red hot iron back into the hot brazier and then said to Two-Face, okay, now you are no longer Two-Face. From now on, your name is Three-Face. He brought a mirror and reflected the poor Two-Face who was handcuffed to the seat. It should be the former Two-Face. Now there is a new scar on his face, which completely covers his original dark green scar, making his face appear in 3 completely different colors. He took out something from his belt and stuffed it into Harvey Dent's hand. This is a 3-sided dice. If you throw 1, you kill me. If you throw 2, you let me live. If you throw 3, let's sit down together and have a cup of coffee and hot chocolate and then discuss how to deal with Bane. Oh, by the way, Penguin watched him take out a bottle of fear gas with a lethal dose and spray it directly on Two-Face's face. I almost forgot. Lubricant. Chen Tao felt that fear gas was really easy to use when training villains. Once lubricant was used, things became simple all of a sudden. Hey, my fear gas is not used like that. Scarecrow, who was imprisoned in another transparent cell, opened his mouth and began to protest, but before he could finish his words, he fell to the ground with a bang like a mummy as Chen Tao snapped his fingers. The Mad Hatter's chip deprived him of control of his body. Penguin saw his eyes rolling around, but he couldn't say a word. I. Chen Tao untied the handcuffs for Two-Face. Two-Face hesitated for a long time, then took the dice tremblingly. He threw it, and unfortunately threw 1. So he jumped up immediately. I'll kill you. What bad luck. Half of Chen Tao's arm turned into the forelimbs of a dinosaur, and he punched him to the ground, then jumped up, stepped on and kicked his face, and after a physical memory disappearance, Two-Face was pressed back to his seat, and Chen Tao snatched the three-sided dice. He continued to take out the branding iron from the brazier, gestured at the position, and pointed it at Two-Face's face. Sizzle. Two-Face's screams resounded throughout the cave again, and the Arkham lunatics took a breath of cold air together, and then sat quietly on the floor of their cells. This is a four-sided dice. The old rules: if you throw 1, throw 2, throw 4, we will go to deal with Bane together. Two-Face threw a 1. What bad luck. AA. Under the effect of the fear toxin, he began to develop a severe fear of fire, but soon, he suffered a textbook desensitization therapy. It's so perverted. Killer Croc and Mr. Freeze put down their playing cards and walked to the side of the Penguin. They watched Batman spray a little fear gas on the face of this villain, then immediately right on the opposite side, and start shooting, left and right repeatedly, and then start to connect the power to another villain, and start to shock him directly. Several people shuddered. To be honest, are we really in the camp of justice? Chapter 81 Prediction. My name is Bane, I'm 26 years old, and I'm a hero of justice. My men, Birdman, Caveman, and Zombie, were captured by the evil big devil Batman. He used them as hostages to force me to go into his lair. He forced me to arrive at Arkham Asylum in 4 days to have a decisive battle with him. I know very well that in 4 days, Batman must have completely controlled all the claws he snatched from the Court of Owls, and those lunatics in Arkham Asylum will not be as dull as when he was controlled by the Mad Hatter's chip before. Batman will convince all the lunatics to help him. In other words, I will be in an extremely unfavorable situation, relying only on the prisoners in Blackgate Prison and dozens of tanks, as well as myself and the Joker, to fight against the entire Gotham. I can't win. Even if I can defeat all the minions of the Batman, it will be difficult for me to defeat the devil when I'm exhausted. But fortunately, I still have a hidden card. A mysterious man, an unknown mysterious man, not only supported me with a lot of money and intelligence, and instructed me to steal the nuclear bomb, but just now, he even gave me a new nuclear bomb, after I lost the nuclear bomb. According to him, it was bought from Penguin a few years ago. What a madman who prepared for a rainy day. But it doesn't matter. What's important is that I have new chips and I can go to the gambling table again. And this time, I will no longer underestimate my opponent. I suspect that Batman is very likely to know that I have a new nuclear bomb. Since the nuclear bomb has become an open card, I might as well turn it to the open. The Joker, my ally who may betray me at any time. I will push him to the front and distract Batman's attention. And I can be in the dark. This time, I will never lose. Another side note, the Joker made a suggestion to me. Since Batman can kidnap my people, I can also kidnap Batman's people. This is a constructive suggestion. The sun sets. Lucius, the technical director of Wayne Group, is having dinner in his office. When he swallowed the second bite of steak, he saw Batman quietly appearing behind him in the reflection of the cup. Before Chen Tao could even wipe his mouth, he got straight to the point. Lucius, I ask you to create a device that can interfere with the explosion of a nuclear bomb. He explained. No matter what kind of nuclear bomb it is, it must be stopped from exploding. Lucius looked at him speechlessly. Who do you think I am? A blue cat robot that can conjure up props when you make a wish? Liquid fuel introduction, launch control system, fuse. At which specific step do you want to stop it? I don't care. We have to stop it at every step. Chen Tao didn't care about that. He gave the order arrogantly. You know what we are facing, and you also know that we must stop it at any step. I suspect. He said, forget it. In short, Murphy's law tells us that things will always develop in the worst direction. We have to prepare for the worst. I have to do it at all costs. Okay, I get it. Lucius, the chief scientist of Wayne Technology, raised his hands in surrender. He said, okay, this is not difficult. It's just some interference. I will be able to make this kind of thing soon. One more thing, you came at the right time. The nano-embedded bomb you asked me to make before is already ready. As long as it is installed in the body, it can blow off human limbs in minutes. Lucius took out a large bag of nanobombs from the safe next to him, and Chen Tao reached out to take it. He turned around and sat back in his seat, using a knife and fork to split the potatoes on the plate in half, and then continued, "This is actually a bit cruel, to be honest. I hope you use it with caution." Chen Tao nodded silently. This is the last line of defense to control those Arkham people. Amanda Waller's methods are sometimes necessary. Amanda Waller, an American official, the controller of the Suicide Squad, specializes in planting nanobombs in the necks of criminals and then driving them to work. "Okay," Lucius continued, "but there is one more thing. Please allow me to ask one more question. What is a nuclear bomb? Could it be?" Lucius didn't finish his words, and when he turned his head, there was no one behind him. He put down the cutlery. "Oh, come on." After saying goodbye to Lucius, Chen Tao rushed to Jim Gordon's house without stopping. Knock knock knock. Chen Tao knocked on the door twice, not afraid of disturbing others. Gordon's daughter Barbara Gordon left Gotham to treat a spine after her spinal paralysis a few years ago, so he lives alone now. "Here I come." Commissioner Gordon, wearing pink pajamas, opened the door and saw Chen Tao's serious face. "Ah, you're here," he said subconsciously. "I've been entangled in your murder recently." But before he finished speaking, he saw Chen Tao snap his fingers, and then a large lump of mud seeped in from the window next to him. "Oh, damn," Commissioner Gordon said. "Meet Gordon, this is Clayface." Chen Tao wanted to say the villain I conquered recently, but Clayface's eyes suddenly deformed to be huge and crystal clear, flashing with a longing light, and his clothes also changed into Robin uniforms. My favorite Robin. That's not the point. The important thing is Chen Tao clapped his hands again, and then 5 or 6 claws kicked through the window and appeared in the room. "Ha, now you are the villain leader, right?" Gordon said, ignoring Commissioner Gordon's complaint. "Hey, is this new glass or my house?" Chen Tao continued, "No time for more nonsense, Jim. You are in danger now. I have always been in danger in this city. I'm used to it." Gordon curled his lips and said, "What's wrong?" Chen Tao told him roughly about the appointment in 4 days. "I still don't understand what this has to do with me." Chen Tao replied, "When I watched TV series before, I always complained about those decent people who knew that the villains had no bottom line, but still did not send their colleagues and families to be protected, but let them live stupidly in their own homes until they were taken hostage by the villains." This specifically criticized Chen Tao's previous life TV series called Gotham. The death of the Penguin's mother in the play was predictable when she just appeared in the first season. Chen Tao was full of complaints when he watched it back then. Now it's his turn, so he will naturally not make such a low-level mistake. Whether it is Bane or the Joker, the word bottom line seems to have nothing to do with them. Chen Tao would not let himself fall into such an unfavorable situation where he would be threatened with hostage taking by the other party. "So I have to protect you, Jim. Before everything is settled, I have to make sure you won't become a hostage." "Are you kidding? I'm the sheriff of Gotham City. How can a sheriff run away from the battlefield?" Jim Gordon rejected Chen Tao as expected. "Batman, I appreciate your kindness, but I have my duty. And you killed someone before." Gurgle. Gurgle 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 gurgle. Before Gordon finished speaking, he saw a large piece of the Clayface man's body separated, about 1/5, and then fell to the ground, and in a few seconds it turned into his own appearance. "I'm sorry, Gordon. I'm not negotiating with you. I know this is a little different from my past methods, but it's necessary." Chen Tao said, "In order to prevent you from being kidnapped as a hostage, I can only be forced to kidnap you first. Please forgive me." Gordon turned his head and wanted to run, but as soon as he turned his head, he bumped into Chen Tao who appeared behind him, and then the black sand in Chen Tao's hand condensed into a black stick. Fall to the ground. Bang. Chen Tao put the unconscious Jim Gordon into a sack, and then ran away with the Clayface man. There was another kidnapping target to go. Only a fake Chief Gordon was left in his room at the scene. He stepped on the glass shards on the floor and climbed into the bed to sleep, as if nothing had happened. "Let's find someone to fix the window tomorrow," he muttered to himself, as if he was really Jim Gordon himself, "and recommend books to friends." If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82 Midnight. It was late at night. Chen Tao stood by the Gotham River and saw a bright moon stirring the cold wind under the vast night sky, blowing across the river to the east. The tide was rising, and the white waves were reflecting the sparkling water. What a magnificent and majestic night. Beep beep beep. Chen Tao answered the phone. Okay, capitalist man, after so long, Ivy and I have finally planted trees around Gotham. Working day and night without rest. I'm so tired. You really should hang street lights. Harley Quinn's face appeared on the other side of the screen, with big dark circles under her eyes. This was not the effect of her makeup in the past. She complained loudly. Ivy is almost exhausted. Beside her, Poison Ivy looked like a sick ghost, and the Cheshire Cat supported her. Thank you for your hard work, Harley, and each of you. Chen Tao's voice was silent, distant, with a low tone that was not like the human world. I appreciate your efforts, he said. It's so meaningful. You are Gotham's last line of defense. Once the worst happens, Ivy's plants will be the best aid to confirm the trajectory of nuclear weapons, to ensure that our interceptor missiles have more time and opportunities to catch up with the launched nuclear bombs. Holly wanted to say something about asking for salary, but Chen Tao told her directly, your account will be transferred $100 million in 10 minutes, and Poison Ivy will also get some. Okay, shut up. Great. Chen Tao hung up the phone. He silently looked at the river, the center of the river, and the corner where the moonlight could not reach. It was as dark as ink and gloomy there, as if there were real monsters lurking in it. Beep, beep. Chen Tao made another call. Batman to Robin. Have the signal blocking devices been deployed throughout Gotham City? It's done, Batman. As you said, we have deployed more blocking devices in key areas such as the circus, the amusement park, and Wayne Tower. Young Robin's tired voice appeared on the screen. Our chief scientist said that the range of this thing is more than 20 meters. If what he said is true, then no one will be able to launch anything in these places. But it's not certain for other places. Chen Tao thought. Deadshot's head broke into the camera. We have been climbing up and down for the past 4 days, being ordered around by you, Batman. To be honest, you have obviously taken back the nuclear bomb. If there is really a second one. Hey, smart guy, you obviously don't understand Gotham. Killer Croc next to him interrupted him. The big green monster chewed instant meat jerky and said vaguely, the worst will always happen in Gotham. You know, this city is a vicious bitch, and she never knows how to write the word mercy. No doubt. Chen Tao replied in a low voice, so we need to be prepared even more. See you later. Chen Tao hung up the phone. He stretched out a hand. Silver white particles entangled in his hand, and half of his hand rotted into a crimson black veil. He stretched out his other hand, and driven by the silver white particles, the green dinosaur claws faintly emerged. Chen Tao groaned. He waved his hand to disperse the two forms of deformation. I'm not finished yet, he muttered to himself silently. He stared at the darkness in the middle of the river, staring at him deeply, as if to imprint it into the galaxy in his eyes. I have come this far, and I have been doing well. I have not lost. I'm doing as well as the real Batman. In the imaginary space and the world of thought, in that hideous darkness, a bat was howling silently. Chen Tao looked straight at him, looking at the miserable, dripping blood in the bat's mouth. I'm sure I'm not finished yet. Between us, you, me, our story will not end for some time. He grinned lowly. You see, fate tells us that I'm afraid I will have to fight you one last time on behalf of Batman. A little light lit up in his heart, sweeping away all cowardice, hesitation, and fear. He shouted at himself loudly, the roar of the mountains and seas, like the sky falling, and the earth collapsing, roared in his heart to the four directions of the universe. Listen up. In life, even if there are thousands of roads, there is only one way out. When it comes to doing things, either don't do it, or do it thoroughly. There is no such thing as giving up halfway. Everyone. That cowardly and incompetent self. You listen to me. I'm Chen Tao. But I'm also, Batman. He whispered. Got him. Here I come. The silver-white particles entangled again, turning him into a nano-body of a broken bat. Chen Tao rolled up his fluttering cape and walked away in the most restful night breeze in Gotham tonight without looking back. Bane finally reviewed the booklet Batman gave him on how to fight the Joker. He stroked the spine of the booklet with infinite tenderness and murderous intent on his face. He reviewed all his plans in his mind, then turned off the lamp in the room and locked the booklet back into the safe with great care and solemnity. But before he could reach the door, he groaned, and his whole body slumped, as if he had a leak. He hurriedly pressed the input of venom, and then quickly returned to normal. He pushed open the door, and what came into his sight was a scene of bustling activity. This was originally the largest prison in Gotham, Blackgate Prison, but now it has completely become a garrison. A large number of guns and weapons were distributed in an orderly manner. This war machine, which was originally composed of Bane's men as the backbone and the prisoners of Blackgate Prison as the flesh and blood, was ready to drink blood at any time. Where is the Joker? He grabbed a soldier who was passing by hurriedly. When the other party saw Bane, he immediately stood at attention with a snap, and several prisoners of Blackgate Prison behind him also followed him to make various non-standard standing and saluting postures. After being pointed out by the soldiers, Bane turned a few corridors and saw the Joker. Hey, you know, I said, you must want to turn off the flashlight when I'm halfway up and let me fall directly to the ground. Ha 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 ha. The atmosphere at the scene was unexpectedly harmonious. Bane narrowed his eyes. A cruel and corrupt villain like the Joker actually got along well with his soldiers. Interesting. Of course, he himself was not a good person. He called the Joker out of the room, and the other party was holding a bottle of beer. He pulled the Joker aside. My ally, I have a very important task to entrust to you. In order to completely defeat Batman, we need to work together. You must. When the time comes. After sending the Joker away, Bane stood by the window. The moonlight was bright, and he guessed that the moonlight must also shine on Batman. It's time for a decisive battle. He whispered to himself. I'm not finished yet, Batman. We are destined to be entangled and fighting together for the rest of our lives. Chapter 83 Oath. Bane's army chose to launch the attack at 6 o'clock in the afternoon. If you look down from the sky, you can see a black and dull swarm of ants leaving Blackgate Prison like a tide. They either cling to several cross-sea bridges that spread from Blackgate Island to the main city of Gotham, or take ships and spread towards the city of Gotham like a virus. They have a lot of tanks, a lot of bullets, guns, mortars, and rockets. It's scary, isn't it, Two-Face? At this time, the Penguin was sitting leisurely on the Batplane suspended in the air. Beside him, the ventriloquist carefully rested half of his, but on a small stool next to the coffee table. I'm now the five-faced man. If you call me the wrong name again, I will stick your hooked nose into your mouth. Two-Face Man. No, it should be said that the five-faced man Harvey Dent was standing in front of the window with a glass of champagne. The Penguin didn't care about Harvey Dent's bad attitude. He said excitedly, ever since Roman and Big Boss Maloney left the power center of Gotham's Mayfair, we have been a mess. He said, Black Mask, Jaws, Ventriloquent, Whisperers, various forces divide and control the power of Gotham's Mayfair. And you, Harvey, your experience as a district attorney has allowed you to master a lot of Mayfair secrets, and your experience as a lawyer who is proficient in law has made you a master of playing with the law. You soon became a leading figure in Gotham's Mayfair and an inseparable link in the Mayfair. And now, Black Mask, that powder-selling idiot, has killed himself, and Jaws is finished. The three of us join forces, and basically represent Gotham's Mayfair. Oh, this is really exciting. The Penguin rubbed his hands excitedly. I have been selling arms in Gotham for so many years. Armed helicopters, tanks, and even jet fighters. He deliberately made a hypocritical gesture of wiping tears. Oh, so pitiful. I can't wait to see the expressions on Bane's faces. His eyes flashed with excitement and malice. He stood in front of the huge display screen and picked up the microphone. On the table in front of him, a projection of Gotham City appeared. Hello, can you hear me? The Penguin knocked on the microphone. Scumbags. The voice came from the plane suspended in the air, and through the speakers, it resounded in the corners of the street below. The group of troops marching on the ground looked at each other, looking for the source of the sound. Beep, squeak, squeak. Hey, can you hear me? The penguin showed a grim smile on his face. It seems you can all hear it. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely welcome everyone to our Gotham gathering. Please believe that the result of this gathering will definitely be carried out in our own way. I'm Bane. I have no father, only a mother. If my mother could see what I look like now, she would definitely laugh at me. Look at me dressed like this now. Bane punched the front armor of the tank, leaving a deep fist mark, and then punched again and again, tearing open the steel guard plate alive, and pulling out the two living people. Like taking crab meat out of a crab. Say something like I'm Bane. She will definitely laugh non-stop when she hears it. Although my mother is not a person who laughs often. She has suffered enough from a miserable and unfortunate life. Bane turned his head away, protecting his cheeks with both hands, and overturned another tank like a bull. But if she could see something particularly funny, she should laugh, and she would. Let go of those tragic memories. Bullets exploded on Bane's body. In a thunderous roar, Bane jumped high and crushed a tank into a discus with one foot. A jet fighter swooped down from the sky, firing 2 missiles and machine guns at Bane, and Bane's eyes reflected the gushing fire. Don't you think I don't know? An adult, putting a black and white hood on his head, rushing into someone else's city, and talking nonsense about becoming a dictator in modern society. Bane caught the flying missiles with his bare hands, and then threw them out like an angry baby. The missiles exploded in the crowd, and blood fell like raindrops, soaking Bane. The blood of friendly and enemy troops mixed together. The jet fighter was still roaring. He punches others like a baby. Venting his anger, Bane pulled the tank's turret off with force. He saw an opportunity, jumped up with the force, and swung the barrel, like throwing a huge boomerang. In a civilized society, he uses his fists to force others to obey his orders. Boom. The barrel of the gun went straight into the cockpit of the fighter plane. The fly hovering above his head fell down the long street in a whirlpool, and a violent explosion set off behind Bane. The fire flooded his clothes, illuminating half of his body, showing off the so-called brute force, tearing up all the rules, and establishing a dictatorial empire in a country without a master. His figure disappeared instantly, and he kicked the gangster holding a gun. The other party flew backwards like a spinning top without a word, plowing a blood-red road on the ground. This is really funny. The bullets had no way of breaking through Bane's defense, but his clothes were almost torn apart, with only a few pieces left on his body, and his body was covered with red muscles massaged by bullets. And what's even funnier is that this guy who might make everyone laugh to the point of screaming is not an adult at all. The gangsters collapsed. They screamed hysterically in fear and fled in front of Bane. Yes, that's right. The one who looked down on us and planned to conquer us is just a child. Bane looked around. On the huge battlefield, he didn't know when, but he was the only one left, and countless corpses lying in all directions. There were his men and his enemies, but they were no longer here at the moment. There was only Bane here. So Bane passed over the lying corpses and his dead men. He passed over the guns, the burning fire, the destroyed tank wreckage, the hills and plains in his heart, and the invisible hurricane rolled his body, making his running seem closer to flying. The kid whose daddy ran away, and whose mommy was beaten to death. But he didn't understand, and he didn't properly remember his mother. Instead, he knelt on his knees, and made a vow. The flames shone through the hood, reflecting in Bane's burning eyes. I swear on the blood of my parents, I will avenge their tragic deaths. I will spend the rest of my life conquer all evil. Chapter 84, Coming to the Seat. Additional updates for follow-up reading. I'm Bane. When I was 9, I got my first weapon, a sharpened toothbrush. I knelt down and held it to my neck. Arkham Asylum. Flamingo. It was 23:58 midnight. Batman offered me a good bargain. He leaned against the wall of the corridor of Arkham Asylum, playing with the knife in his hand. The knife was cold and fast. When it stabbed into someone's chest, it would never be stained with a drop of blood. Stop Bane and take him down. And Batman promised to improve my imprisonment. But I'm a killer. Before deciding to take an order, I always ask how much someone is offering. so I deliberately left the group to ask. I think now the question becomes, what can you offer? Bane's answer was a punch to his face, followed by a punch to the abdomen, which made Flamingo vomit his internal organs like last night's swill. Once, twice, he kept on beating until the other's strong tendons burst and collapsed. His feet flowed through the other's blood. Pain. He answered. I provide pain. He continued to go deeper into the demon's lair. I put the sharp toothbrush against my neck. It was sharp, stinging, and cold. The blood flowed to my chest, and I looked up and saw my mother. I apologized to her. I'm really sorry. I prayed to God countless times, put my hands together, and prayed desperately. But the only thing I could feel was the blood in the spikes in my hands. Such warmth. No one responded to me. No one responded. No one responded. Only I'm here. The new demon's minions appeared in front of Bane. It is 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm the amygdala. The muscular man said, do you have my special medicine? And I'm the movie freak. Say hello to my little friend. Note, say hello to my little friend. This line comes from Scarface. The movie freak is a villain who likes to say movie lines. Bane felt tired. He pressed his back to increase the efficiency of the venom input. I'm torture. The muscles swelled under the effect of the medicine. I'm destruction. The blue veins twisted and bulged under his skin. I'm venom. Bane's body grew taller and taller, and the huge shadow was projected down and projected on the faces of the two people. I'm Bane. Bane saw the fear on the other's face. It was his old friend who was very familiar with him. You stand between me and Batman, so you must fall. Violent screams at the top of their lungs. The scarecrow stood quietly at the corner. Lonely phobia, fear of being alone. Intense screams continued, echoing with his voice. Universal phobia, fear of the terrible things that are coming. Fear of failure. He whispered. The symphony of screams accompanied his whispers, and at this moment, it reached its peak. Vomiting phobia. Bleeding phobia. Then it gradually died down, like a dead tombstone-like silence. Pain phobia. Death phobia. Religious phobia. And the most terrible, scarecrow phobia. The scarecrow turned around suddenly, turned around the corner, and aimed the huge fear gas spray gun at Bane. Fear of scarecrows. Sizzle. Bane was shrouded in a large cloud of mist. Peptide. Peptide carboxymethane dihydrogen. The scarecrow threw down the spray gun, walked in front of Bane, and poked Bane tentatively. At this moment, he looked like a primary school student waiting for the teacher's reply. Super concentrated fear gas. 20 times more effective than the normal version. Bane slowly knelt on the ground. It's worth using it on you. Its effect is very strong, and therefore, it is very likely to summon a terrible nightmare. Scarecrow slowly squatted in front of Bane. Those terrible nightmares, or the horrors, can you see them? Can you hear them? Maybe, more precisely, if you want. Scarecrow's face showed an excited and malicious smile. Maybe you can describe them to me. Scarecrow smiled proudly. Yes, what is it like? Are you falling? Are you being swallowed? Is it cancer? Oh, is the water level rising again? Will you drown because of this, little boy? His face showed a sick flush. What? Tell me quickly, what kind of nightmare do you have? But the next second, his collar was grabbed by Bane. I'm Bane. I don't have nightmares. Intense fear struck Scarecrow's heart. I spread nightmares. Bane raised his fist, but he didn't have time to swing it down. The ice froze his body. You know, in the past 4 days, I have been studying your venom samples almost 24 hours a day. Mr. Freeze slowly walked out from the other side, holding a freezing gun in his hand. Plus, with a lot of information to refer to, I now understand the composition, properties, and functions of venom, a complex solution, as thoroughly as I understand ice. Mr. Freeze approached slowly. Speaking of which, you are currently being squeezed by 2,737 pounds per cubic meter of solid ice. A perfect human being injected with the maximum possible dose of venom cannot even escape from 1,500 pounds per cubic meter of ice. So you see, it is very difficult to escape with a loud bang. The ice exploded easily. With one punch, Mr. Freeze's armor was shattered, and he flew backwards like a kite. Scarecrow escaped immediately. No. Impossible. Nothing is impossible, Bane told him. Only Bane. Firefly 4:53 AM. Firefly's armor was dismantled like a cookie. He barely raised the flamethrower and pointed it at Bane, and Bane didn't even try to dodge. Everything you do is in vain. He ignored the burning fire singeing every hair on his body. He grabbed Firefly's neck and gave him an uppercut. I will find Batman, and I will defeat him. Black Spider, 8:36 AM. Black Spider's body was twisted in defeat. Bane gasped. All of this, all of you. Madness, fighting, death, venom. I've had enough. I prayed desperately, but still no one answered me. Dr. Pigface, 10:45 AM. Behind Bane's back, Dr. Pigface was lying on the ground with a big hole in his stomach. Then finally I saw it clearly. I let go and let the spikes slide down. Man-Bat, 2:41 PM. His wings were torn. Mr. Sass, 5:51 PM. It's done. I've decided what I'm going to be. My life is no longer mine. I said it softly. Copperhead Snake, 8:07 PM. Dr. Phosphorus, 11:11 PM. Bane's hood was half burned. My oath. That's it. It was a choice made by a child. He chose death. And Bane was reborn in that body. I'm Bane. I'm everything. In the dull sky, the masked man roared and waved the flames, and the hungry dark cloud swayed quietly in the deep sea. It is now 1 o'clock in the morning. After going through untold hardships, the bloody warrior Bane finally came to the Bat King's car. Batman, I have a hostage in my hand. He said, it's Jim Gordon. Please read it, everyone. What we are looking at now is the reading data on Monday. The amount of reading to the latest chapter within 24 hours will determine the future fate of the book. I will add more chapters in these 2 days. Please be sure to read it. I really ask for a follow-up reading. And the book I recommend to my friends, The Age of Immortal Cultivation in the Great Universe. This used to be a very serious world of immortal cultivation, seeking immortality, riding dragons and phoenixes, and also cultivating immortality with magic, killing people and stealing treasures. Until 4,000 years ago, a thing called the Lord God merged with the way of heaven, and the style of this traditional world of immortal heroes changed. Volume 1. Cutting Chicken Jianghu Volume 2, Dragon Blood Pet Parrot Spirit Volume 3, The Ultimate Magic Modification of the Song Dynasty. Chapter 85, The Dragnet of Absolute Caution. Please read. Here they come. Chen Tao thought silently. His mood became increasingly indifferent, as peaceful as the water dripping from a gargoyle. It's not that he didn't notice the changes in his emotions, but surprisingly, he didn't reject them. In his heart, he reviewed for the last time that he had kidnapped. Oh no, it was a protective kidnapping. A list of people he had forcibly taken away for protection. Gotham City Public Councilor, City Council Spokesperson, Planning Commission Chairman. Of course, there was also Jim Gordon, the second in command of the police station. Sheriff Harvey Bullock was not spared. Several other important backbones of the police station who could be used as threats were also taken away together. All the people were replaced by puppets transformed by the Clayface Man, and the Clayface Man was almost drained dry. In order to achieve this feat, in addition to the key care objects like Jim Gordon, who were completely made up of the body of the Clayface Man, Chen Tao also chose to use the skeleton robots invented by Lucius for some less important characters. In this way, the Clayface only needs to cover part of his body on the surface of this robot to create a lifelike, jumping and running dummy, while greatly reducing his own physical damage. This invention greatly increases the efficiency of kidnapping. Anyone who has the slightest possibility of being kidnapped by Bane will be arrested, and anyone who has a personal relationship with Bruce Wayne, even an 80-year-old grandmother, will be handcuffed. Not only that, even if Bane randomly finds a passerby on the street to kidnap, he is not afraid. Not to mention the surveillance cameras that Batman has already spread throughout Gotham. Chen Tao also dispatched Lincoln March and his claws to be on standby at any time. Hundreds of claws controlled by chips are distributed in the city, ready to rescue any hostage in any corner at any time. And the three major gang alliances composed of Two-Face, Penguin and Ventriloquist, who can completely command the entire Gotham gang, have already issued orders to most of the gang members in the city to find suspicious persons a few days ago. This order spread to the grassroots gang members of Gotham within 3 hours, and within 8 hours, any ordinary person living in the neighborhood controlled by the gangs knew about it. Driven by such a huge bonus, are you still afraid of not being able to find someone? You have to have a place to store hostages when you kidnap someone. An unfinished building with no one. Coincidentally, the homeless people all know that place. Under the bridge. Overpass. There are only a few places where people can stand. Who doesn't know? You rent a house. The landlord's old lady was the first to report it. The US government cannot be so efficient, but the gangs can be. Because this is a city of gangs, the gangs are deeply rooted in every aspect of people. Most of the residents of Gotham have a gang background, and the sons and fathers of many families are old gangsters from their ancestors. Lockhart's material exchange law tells us that any crime cannot be without traces, let alone Bane's men, a group of outsiders who lack understanding of this city. Even with the help of those prisoners in Blackgate prison, their existence will be as dazzling as fireflies in the dark night in the eyes of the old Gotham Black Flag. As long as they place these kidnapped hostages outside Blackgate prison, they will be recognized in minutes. Do you know what the king of the city means? Do you know what it means to be targeted by the whole city? What does it mean to be surrounded by enemies? And what does it mean to be in the vast ocean? To hide something under this level of surveillance, unless it was hidden several years ago, such as the nuclear bomb that was bought several years ago and maybe in the hands of Bane, and to hide it on the spot, it is impossible. What? You mean to place the hostages in Blackgate prison, which is completely controlled by Bane? Are all those claws just for fun? As long as Bane is not in the prison in person, who can stop them? Under such crazy and outrageous mass compulsory protection and comprehensive surveillance, Chen Tao does not believe that he can still face the passive situation of being kidnapped by close friends or innocent people, and being forced to be unable to fight back like the saintly protagonists in third-rate trash novels. And the development of the facts is indeed as Chen Tao expected. I kidnapped Jim Gordon. He is now being held by my men in Blackgate prison. The Clayface is pretending to be him. You can try calling. I'll call and you'll track the number. Hurry up and kill him. Hurry up and don't talk nonsense. Bane called and hung up a few minutes later. His face under the shattered hood was expressionless. He was silent for a while, then said, I kidnapped Harvey Bullock. Chen Tao interrupted him directly. The Clayface is pretending to be him. The same old process. Call. Confirm. Hang up. I kidnapped Mayor Carroll. The Clayface is pretending to be the public counselor. The Clayface. I kidnapped. Bane called out more than a dozen names in a row, only to get the same repetition as Batman. The Clayface is pretending to be him. In the end, Bane was even too lazy to call to confirm. He just kept calling out names, and got the answer he had expected. He stopped calling out those futile names. Chen Tao saw his fist tightened again and again, and veins spread from his neck to his forehead. Impossible. The Clayface man cannot separate himself into so many people at the same time. I have studied his nature. I kidnapped dozens of people at the same time. They can't all. How did you do it? Because we have Doraemon. Of course, Chen Tao would not tell Bane this. You can guess for yourself. Bane was silent. But even though his plan seemed to have completely failed, Chen Tao did not relax his vigilance at all. He was waiting for Bane to take out another trump card. Would the nuclear bomb that was bought really be in his hands? I still have the last 2 kidnapping targets. Chen Tao was stunned for a moment. Isn't it a nuclear bomb? The 2 final kidnapping targets. Don't say it. The Clayface man is fake. You may have to look at this again. Chen Tao's face became slightly serious. In the few seconds that Bane spoke, he had repeatedly reviewed all the points of his actions in his mind several times, but there was no new discovery for the time being. Bane seemed to have a plan in mind, and things were a little out of his control. This was normal. Even if he made more preparations, he was not an omniscient and omnipotent god after all. But, no matter what trump card Bane had, he was fully prepared to ensure that he could deal with it. So, what is it? Bane? Do you have any trump cards that I didn't expect? Under such a dense siege, how can you still struggle? The trump card was revealed. Chen Tao's eyes widened. There is still one chapter at 12 o'clock, and it will be stuck at the last moment. I will continue to read it tomorrow. The success or failure of Sanjiang depends on this. Chapter 86. Expired Parents. Seeking follow-up reading. I still have two hostages you would never expect. Bane opened his palms, and the venom began to pour into his body bit by bit, swelling up his already sturdy body bit by bit. On one side of his body, green plants grew from under his flesh and blood, breaking through his muscles and skin, causing Bane to bleed bright red. On the other side, his body quickly rotted. A strong stench spread from that half of his body, and his flesh cracked inch by inch, oozing out yellow-brown corpse fluid. The two forces began to wrestle with each other at the dividing point of his body, as if to tear Bane in half, and then at this time, with Bane's nose as the center, the middle part of his body quickly turned pale with blue veins. Was it the transformation of amber gold? The venom gurgled into his body, and the three forces actually reached a strange balance, appearing on Bane's body at the same time, making him look like a three-color ice cream. Chen Tao knew that such a metaphor was inappropriate and impolite, but this transformation did add a dramatic touch to Bane's serious and cruel life. Bane stretched out the arm that was stained by the black power of decay. He lightly grasped in the air, as if guiding some intangible and invisible power, to infuse his whole body. His half-body covered with corpse spots swelled again, but was then suppressed by the amber gold and the green of all things. Come on. Chen Tao felt a chill. He heard a hissing sound, as if some giant rat had dug a tunnel underground and tried to drill into Arkham Asylum. Chen Tao's mind was suddenly tense. What is that? He silently transformed his body into the nano-body of Nano Batman, and the drifting black veil gradually condensed in the room. Chen Tao has made full preparations. No matter what will come out from under the floor later, it will be struck by thunder the moment it emerges. Black of Decay, Black of Decay. Could it be that Bane and Black of Decay are colluding again? What kind of giant rotten worm would come out from the ground? A giant beast covered with corpse spots? It can't be a dead centipede with various broken limbs sewn all over its body, howling while rushing out of the ground. Chen Tao's brain was spinning frantically, and he deduced all kinds of ideas in these few seconds. He was shocked that his brain was spinning so fast. Is the water in the Lazarus pool I prepared before enough? Amidst all kinds of crazy thoughts, the sound stopped. The thing digging underground finally reached under the floor. A drop of cold sweat dripped from Chen Tao's forehead. With a click, the floor made a slight sound. Then the next second, a pale hand pulled the head and directly broke the floor, roaring to the sky in the room. This terrible monster. Wait, what is this? Chen Tao widened his eyes and saw these two zombies crawling out of the floor in disbelief. Unforgivable. Chen Tao said. I feel this power called the Black of Decay. Bane replied. You may not understand how terrible this power is. The boundary between life and death has never been as blurred as it is in front of me at this moment. I have been close to death countless times, and I have long been ready to embrace death. But I never thought that one day I would master death. Batman, he said seriously, I now realize so clearly that death is not the end of everything, but the beginning of everything. Unforgivable. Chen Tao whispered to himself. Therefore, Batman, I solemnly introduce my last two hostages to you. Thomas Wayne. The slightly taller zombie roared, and the sound like a broken saxophone sounded from his airy throat. Martha Wayne. The slightly shorter zombie followed with a howl, sharp, piercing, and full of hatred for all the living in the world. A pearl necklace hung around her neck. Intact, pure and flawless. Chen Tao covered his face and sobbed softly. Unforgivable. A huge rage was brewing in his voice. How dare you? How dare you do this to my parents? Wait. Aren't these Batman's parents? A bolt of lightning struck Chen Tao's brain, dispelling all the sadness in his mind. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Why should I be sad? These are not my parents. I'm the time traveler Chen Tao. Batman's parents' graves were dug up. What does it have to do with me as a time traveler? Chen Tao realized why he had never considered Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne, because he had never cared about these two bodies at all. He subconsciously never thought that these two bodies were something that could threaten him. Then how could he make a plan to prevent them from being robbed? Exclamation mark. You think I don't know about the existence of Clayface? You think I'm stupid enough not to take any precautions against Clayface? I'm disappointed, Batman, that you underestimated me. That's why you made a mistake. Bane walked slowly between the two zombies, although I'm still surprised that you replaced all the hostages I kidnapped with Clayface. But I never thought from the beginning that those hostages could shake your mind. Chen Tao lowered his head, his shoulders twitching, as if he was sobbing. Bane looked down at him. This huge blow, this devastating blow, seemed to make Batman shocked and angry, and lost all his will to fight. The plan was accomplished so well, and the great feat of deceiving Batman made Bane feel dizzy. The pamphlet you wrote for me on how to fight the Joker also revealed how to fight you to some extent. It was almost a confession you wrote to me. Despicable. Bane saw Batman covering his face. He stood up from his seat, then covered his stomach, fell to the ground, and slowly bent his body. I knew that the hostages I kidnapped would most likely be replaced by the Clayface man, and I knew that, even if I kidnapped those hostages, I couldn't keep them in front of you. But I still did it. Everything is a deception, Batman. Those hostages distracted your attention. Jim Gordon, Harvey Bullock, you paid too much attention to them, and made you forget to guard against the two most important people in your life. This is all written in your pamphlet. How to fight the Joker. Distract his attention. How to fight Batman. Distract his attention. So now, dying. Bane manipulated two zombies to block in front of him. In the next battle, if you want to attack me, you must grind your parents to ashes with your own hands. Even with Bane's cunning, he could no longer suppress the high spirits in his tone. The uneasiness of being close to victory pushed his blood straight to his brain, if he still had blood flowing in his veins. Batman fell to his knees, covering his face, and twitching slowly. Woo woo woo, woo woo woo. Oh my god, you're not crying, are you? Bane said. Woo woo woo, woo ha ha, woo ha 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 ha. What? Bane's expression changed little by little, and his originally excited expression froze on his face. Ha 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 ha. Chen Tao laughed hysterically, and he laughed so hard that he fell down, rolled on the ground, and pounded the ground hard. Ha 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 ha. He ha 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 ha. Chapter 87 Nuclear weapons finally appear. Please read later. What do you mean? You think that pretending to be disdainful will. You can. Bane was confused. He had repeatedly deduced countless possible reactions of Batman in his mind. The other party was furious, the other party attacked him, the other party responded calmly, and the other party had other backup plans. He also repeatedly pondered his own response. He even listed dozens of methods in different situations on the draft paper, making sure to induce Batman to be forced to destroy the bodies of the Waynes in various situations, so as to completely make Batman lose his mind in grief and anger, and weaken the other party's judgment as much as possible. He planned very well. He planned for a long time, and he was so serious that he was just like a student trying to memorize all the answers before the exam. But why? The content of the exam changed. His brain stagnated. But Bane's key was only disordered for a short moment. This is not logical. He said, I have studied you, Batman. The opportunity for you to become Batman comes from the departure of your parents and childhood trauma. Me too. Bane said silently in his heart. Batman, childhood misfortunes shape us, and this constitutes the link between you and me. We are so similar. We are the same kind of people. Your parents occupy a very important position in your life. You can never turn a blind eye to them. Stand up, Batman. Such a trick can't deceive me, but will tarnish our battle. When you see me dig them out of the grave, you should know the situation now. I want ha ha ha. Are you going to grind them to ashes, or take the bones apart and cook bone soup? Then he saw Batman said, cook quickly, and when you really cook the soup, remember to give me a bowl. Dumb. Ugh. Thomas Wayne, who was standing in front of Bane, suddenly vomited, and a large lump of disgusting green mucus was spit out from his mouth, and then dripped onto the ground. In just a few seconds, it drilled through the floor tiles, and grew a lush green sapling on the ground. Bane's face became gloomy. Okay. He hooked his finger, and then Thomas Wayne jumped on the spot, rushing towards Batman in an anti-human posture like a 365-degree Thomas spin. He manipulated Bruce Wayne's biological mother Martha Wayne as a shield, and followed closely behind. As long as Batman hesitated a little when facing his biological father, he would have the opportunity to really hit the opponent before revealing the last trump card. Swish. Chen Tao didn't care. Half of his arm disintegrated into black sand and then condensed into a blade, directly piercing Thomas Wayne's chest, and then easily took off Thomas Wayne's head like taking the cherry off a cream cake. Bane stopped moving, his running posture paused, and silently watched Chen Tao tossing the cherry up and down in his hand. TSK, look. Chen Tao said, the parents exchanged for expired parent exchange coupons are also expired. Bane was speechless for a moment. What does this tell us? Don't use expired things. Bane opened his mouth and tried his best to organize his words, but he felt that all the words he wanted to say were stuck in his throat, like a mouthful of old phlegm, unable to spit out or swallow back. Chen Tao weighed the cherry in his hand, and then his eyes stayed on the hole in Thomas Wayne's chest. But this story also tells us that people should be more open-minded, even if it is expired. Enough. Stop talking. Bane covered his head. He didn't know why he became the one who was stimulated. Thomas Wayne was not his father. But at this time, Chen Tao only felt that his thoughts were clear and his heart was comfortable. Yes, this is the original him. For so long, he has always subconsciously imitated the style and planning methods of Batman in his impression in the comics. He imitated it to the point of losing himself. Even his speech and walking were full of Bruce's flavor. But this is not right. Whether to become Batman temporarily or to resolve to kill Bane, this is Chen Tao's choice. Even if he wears the mask of Batman, what he practices should be Chen Tao's justice, Batman's justice. Just like he murdered the Joker without hesitation before, he can imitate or even completely replicate Bruce's actions, but he should never become him, or no one can become him. His sorrow, his pain, his love, his hatred, Chen Tao found that he could not and did not need to become him. This is not logical. Bane repeated what he said before in an unbelievable tone. Why? Because although I decided to be Batman temporarily, I'm not Bruce Wayne. Well, of course I can't answer Bane like this. So Chen Tao used a panacea to answer, because I'm Batman. Bane was silent. I understand. What do you understand? You crazy. Why did he suddenly start to curse people? I'm so stupid that I haven't figured out your true nature until now. Bane said, you regard the identity of Batman as more important than the identity of Bruce Wayne. Although I haven't met other super vigilantes, I can basically guess their situation. They wear superhero masks, but they are still just mortals under the masks. But you are different. Bane concluded, there has never been a Bruce Wayne disguised as Batman, only Batman disguised as Bruce Wayne. My mistake was that I tried to use normal people's logic to deduce your behavior, but ignored the fact that you and your enemies are all lunatics. And for lunatics, there is never a question of who is less crazy and who is more crazy. Therefore, Bruce Wayne's sadness and hatred are not important at all. No matter how I hurt Thomas Wayne, it is impossible to mobilize Batman's emotions because Bruce Wayne does not exist. He is just a fake person, a mask. Under the mask is only you, Batman, a lunatic. This is really a huge misunderstanding. Chen Tao thought, I'm just wearing the mask of Batman. Of course, he did not intend to expose Bane's conclusion. Frankly speaking, in the absence of the most critical information that Batman is a time traveler, Bane's deduction seemed to be the most logical conclusion. He deduced a complete set of logic, based on a wrong premise, and then convinced himself, and then acted shocked and surprised. Well, forget it, let this misunderstanding be. Chen Tao stuffed the big head of Bruce Wayne's father back to its original place. The plant connected the broken parts, and Thomas Wayne uttered a vague mutter, "Abba-abba." Then, Bane. Let's reveal the last cards at once. You are not out of tricks, are you? Of course not. Bane answered him. He reached out and called back Thomas Wayne, then took out a projection communicator from Martha Wayne and put it on his arm. Nuclear bomb. He said, the Joker is preparing to launch a nuclear bomb now. He clicked on the communicator, and as the three-dimensional image lit up, the Joker appeared on the two-dimensional screen projected by the light. Ha 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 ha. But, guess what a surprise is? Chapter 88 The Clown appears, seeking follow-up reading. Chen Tao's heart began to beat fast. The development of the matter was still within his expectations for the time being. Batman, we are trying to track the Joker's signal. Tim's voice sounded from Chen Tao's headset. If we delay a little longer, we will find him soon. Find the location of the nuclear bomb. Even if the Joker is not with the nuclear bomb, as long as there is any remote control device for the nuclear bomb explosion around him, we can find the specific location of the nuclear bomb through him. So we just need to delay a little longer. You won't destroy Gotham with a nuclear bomb. Chen Tao said, you just want to conquer this city, not destroy it. What use is a pile of broken bricks and tiles to you? This is nonsense. The reason why nuclear blackmail can be called blackmail is because it must have a specific target. Even if it is not Gotham City, it can be other cities. All Bane needs is a bargaining chip. As for which city this bargaining chip is, it doesn't matter. Bane knew that Batman would not fail to think of this with his brain. He also knew that the other party wanted to delay time, but he didn't seem to care. Hello Big Bat, can you hear me? Ei or hey, shouldn't I be the one holding the big fireworks now? The Joker yelled on the other side of the communicator. I'm angry, I'm going to launch the big fireworks. Be quiet, Bane said to him. So the Joker actually quieted down obediently. He just stopped there, just like the video was paused. So I never thought about blowing up Gotham. He heard Bane say, the target of the nuclear bomb is Metropolis. Damn, what does this have to do with Metropolis? Chen Tao's heart sank. He had sent Alfred to try to find Clark Kent in Metropolis before, but he hadn't found this person yet. Due to the huge population mobility in Metropolis, it is not possible to find a foreigner Clark Kent in the tens of millions of people who are constantly moving in a short period of time. But according to the timeline, if Jimmy has already started working as a photographer under Lois Lane, and Clark Kent has not yet joined the Daily Planet, it means that our Kansas boy is very likely still in the period of just leaving his small town farm and just coming to the big city in Metropolis, busy looking for a job. Does Superman at this time really have the ability to protect tens of millions of people under a nuclear bomb? If he fails, will he, who has witnessed such a tragedy, let the world develop directly in the direction of injustice and justice lords? Note, the Superman of these two parallel universes is a tyrant and a dictator. He also hopes that, after everything is over, he will retire as he promised Alfred, and then find Superman to replace himself. He originally thought that, even if he wanted to attack Bane, he would prioritize attacking several cities around Gotham. Forget it. Anyway, as long as the nuclear bomb flies out of Gotham, there will be rivers of blood, or it should be said that the blood will be evaporated, and tens of millions of people will die. No matter what the result is, he can't accept it. So he has prepared enough backups. Like a real Batman, he kept several backup plans. Bruce, we are still looking, locating, and we'll find it soon. Robin's voice kept coming from the headset. Wait a little longer. If you plan to blow up Metropolis with a nuclear bomb, then Metropolis will be blown up. Chen Tao tried to talk nonsense. Bane didn't know what to say for a moment. He just wanted to say something threatening, but his train of thought was suddenly interrupted by Chen Tao's nonsense. He shook his head, as if to shake his brain, and then reorganized his words for a while. Blowing up Metropolis means nothing to me, and destroying tens of millions of innocent lives is not my intention. If life is destroyed, then life will die. Chen Tao continued to talk nonsense, urging in his heart, hurry up, don't interrupt me again. Bane snorted, and then tried to adjust his voice back to the original cold and cruel tone, but failed. Ah, damn it, I didn't mean to blow up Metropolis at all. Everything I do is for you. You. In order to defeat you, to conquer your city, to weaken you, Batman, I offer you a way to save Metropolis. Bane let out a breath, and finished all the words he was going to say, an opportunity for self-sacrifice. He waved to Martha Wayne, who was standing next to him, so she walked over, and then half of her body split open without warning. Bane put his hand into her belly. Here, after 10 months of pregnancy, the miracle of life was born, wasn't it? He took out a bottle of liquid that he had prepared in advance from Martha Wayne's body. But this place can also store life-taking poisons. Bane placed the bottle of poison in front of Chen Tao. This is my gift to you, Batman. You have to drink it. he said with malice. In order to weaken you, I specially made the venom for you, a good way to erode your body. He said, after that day, I studied the essence of your body, some tiny nanorobots. There are also some car and dinosaur transformations. I know them all about you now. He said, these are specially developed for you. They can destroy your nanobody and make you never have the chance to confront me head on. I don't know when you actually have the talent for scientific research. Chen Tao said a little strangely, thinking, does Bane have such a setting? Developing such a thing in just 4 days? You can choose to believe it or not. I guess you must be thinking at this moment, how can I have such scientific research ability to develop corresponding targeted drugs in just 4 days? Bane pointed to the can of venom on his back, but it is also possible. After all, I have fully mastered the skills of making venom, and I'm a self-taught poison master. So you want to take a gamble? But, bet that I'm lying to you? Even if it is true, you will not die. I can tell you very clearly that I do not have the ability to develop a drug that can kill you. It's nothing more than being weakened. You have the confidence to beat me, right? Bane's voice was whispering. And Tim's voice also sounded, Batman, I found the place, but there is no one here. Chen Tao frowned, and he turned the sound directly to the hands-free mode. There is no Joker, no nuclear weapons, no console. Wait, there is no live broadcast. This is just a recording. Bane suddenly looked at the communicator on his wrist. He looked even more surprised than Chen Tao. How could it be? He said, I clearly asked the Joker. Chen Tao whispered into the headset, contact Harley and Poison Ivy. We still have a backup plan. It's okay. But before he finished speaking, he heard a familiar laugh. Ha 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 ha. Chen Tao roughly guessed what was going on. The seeds he had planted by instigating the Joker and Bane finally bore fruit. He turned around and saw the Joker appear at the corner of the corridor, staring at Bane with malicious eyes. How could I let you take away Batman's favor like this? It might be on the shelves this Friday. I really should save some manuscripts. Woo woo woo. Damn, I write too slowly. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89 Backstab. Clown. This is not our plan. Bane said, but before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by the clown waving his hand. He hummed in a low voice, and his face fell like a wronged puppy. Plans, 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 HMM. Always plans. Everyone has plans, and everyone loves plans. Look at me. He rubbed his hands on his pale face again and again, then patted them quickly, showing his smiling face to Bane. I'm a lunatic. A lunatic. Look at me. Do I look like the kind of person who will do things according to plan? You are the dog chasing the car. Chen Tao answered him, and he said the standard answer. Before he crossed over, many analysts had already analyzed the Joker's nature thoroughly. Even if you really catch up with it, you don't know what to do with it. You are just doing things for the sake of doing things. Of course, Chen Tao knew very well that these deconstructions of the Joker were essentially the result of a blind man touching an elephant. All the conclusions were just a glimpse of the leopard. No matter whether you touch the elephant's legs or the elephant's tail, it is just the tip of the iceberg of the elephant. Chen Tao warned himself in his heart. These conclusions cannot make people fully understand the Joker. He is a disordered pale man. Even as smart as Luthor, it is impossible to completely predict his trajectory of action. Therefore, we must respond to each move and decide according to the situation. Oh, sweetheart. You still understand me? The Joker made a touched expression. You are more considerate and lovely, unlike a reckless man like Bane, although you are also always making plans. He said, oh, I'm almost annoyed by plans recently. That Court of Owls has plans, the police have plans, and even Bane has plans. You bunch of nasty conspirators. You always hold your own little world firmly in the palm of your hand. Well, but you know, he said in a light tone, I'm not a conspirator. Then in the second half of his sentence, without any warning, His tone immediately turned gloomy and violent. I want to make those conspirators realize how pathetic and ridiculous their efforts to control everything are. Ha 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 ha. He bent over with laughter. Then quickly, he straightened his body like a spring and continued as if nothing had happened. Oh, I'm sorry for my intrusion. I really wish I could control my crazy laughter, but he is really special, the way it echoes in your mind. Joker. I've heard enough of your useless nonsense. Bane said, where is the nuclear bomb I gave you? You should have stimulated him, you pale clown. But you ruined everything. You did a stupid thing, Joker. Well below your level of villain. We could have completely defeated Batman. He concluded, this is a betrayal. I had expected more from you. You expect something from me? The Joker said, no offense. The smile faded from his face in an instant. Are you worthy? Bane pressed the button on the back of his hand, and the venom behind him began to pour into his body again. Batman, I'm sorry. Maybe I have to clean up an unexpected situation before starting our final showdown. He even apologized to me. He really did. I cried to death. Chen Tao felt like he had suddenly become a gift that was being fought over. This was a very weird feeling. He squatted nearby and quietly observed the development of the situation. At the same time, he silently gave orders to the many people outside through the communicator in his hand. Be ready to intercept any nuclear bombs that may be launched. I never liked you, Joker. Ha 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 ha. Bane said, do you think I won't be on guard against your betrayal? Ha ha ha. But I originally thought that you could at least help me attract some of Batman's attention. Puff. Ha 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 ha. What's going on? Bane covered his mouth. He began to realize that something was wrong. How could it be? I clearly guessed that you would put laughing gas in the titan venom I used to strengthen myself, so I took precautions. Ah ha 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 ha. I took precautions and made sure that the venom I poured into the bottles was all pure. How could you? Ha 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 ha. He couldn't control his laughter. I carefully checked every glass of water and every edible thing you touched. I never ate them. You never had a chance to do anything to me enough. Stop laughing. But Bane was completely helpless against his uncontrollable laughter. I'm going to kill you. Puff. Bane said, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to cut open your brain and make sure every nerve burns in endless pain and suffering and make sure you never go into shock. Ah ha 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 ha. Oh, I'm so scared that I'm going to hide in my little boots. Hold on, Bane. Maybe you can imagine something really scary. Heh. The Joker revealed the answer. It's remember the time you came to me? That ridiculous little pre-war conspiracy? You came to me to tell me about your plans that made people's stomachs hurt. Impossible. Bane said, I'm proficient in pharmacy. I understand the composition of drugs. Even if you can concoct a poison gas with a delayed effect, it is impossible to accurately control the physical condition of each individual. He said, in theory, the stronger the individual, the longer the drug will take to take effect. Ha ha ha. For example, if you really mix a delayed poison gas, the soldiers in the same room with you should definitely take effect before me, unless the poison gases. That's right, smart Bane. The clown laughed. It seems that you have also realized it. I have designed a brand new formula for you. Do you know? It is the love and care in the clown gift package that will make you a repeat customer. Of course, the premise is that you can survive tonight. Got, Bane. I'm a well-educated clown, and I know you. We have been together for so long, haven't we? We share the joys and sorrows. The clown squatted in front of Bane. The other party smiled from ear to ear and covered his stomach on the ground. You may be on guard against me. You may never have trusted me from the beginning, but you are always Bane. How boring. You are always predictable. You try the same thing again and again. How funny. Do you really think you are pursuing something meaningful? You try your best to come up with all kinds of new tricks, but in the end it's still the same old tricks that Roman and Maloney played. Bane. Defeating Batman, ruling the city, building your own underworld empire, threatening heroes with hostages. It's too predictable. It makes the humor disappear. Chapter 90 launch. Although I didn't intend to kill you at first, but you are too boring, and I will change my personality 3 times before breakfast. The Joker said. You think I don't know? Oh, Bane, you started it first. I'm heartbroken by your distrust. The Joker wiped away the non-existent tears, spread his hands and said, "Wow, you just entrusted the nuclear weapon to me. Such a beautiful big firework. You just gave it to me casually. Do you think I will believe this fairy tale? The nuclear bomb you gave me is fake. An empty firecracker. You cunning wolf. The real thing must be lying quietly in some corner now. You never thought of destroying Metropolis from the beginning, right?" The Joker grabbed his hair, looking a little crazy, and those green hairs were stretched straight under his strong fingertips. "It's too blasphemous. You took out such a big firecracker to show others, but refused to light it. This is a fraud. A fraud. Right. You just want to be a local tyrant in a city, not to become a public enemy of mankind. Letting a mushroom cloud rise in the Metropolis will only make the national government kill you at all costs, just like Bin Laden back then. How can you be the king of Gotham peacefully?" "Ugh." The Joker retched. "I really want to vomit," he said. He held his chin. "So at the beginning I thought, you know." He opened his palms and waved them randomly in the air with great interest, as if he was conducting a non-existent band. "It will be fun to help you get to the brink of victory and then throw everything in your face. I originally wanted you to defeat Batman so carefully and seize the city, and then I would steal everything right under your nose. I have prepared a death trap for you. Look, you will suddenly laugh out loud when fighting with Batman is at its most intense. This will definitely add a lot of humor to you. Of course, this may be fatal, but it is also possible that you will struggle to survive the worst part, and then you will think that you have won and defeated Batman." Chen Tao's heart tightened. He already knew what the Joker could do. Bane said, "It is difficult. Ah ha 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 ha. You." In the current situation, it was difficult for him to even speak. "Well, it's really difficult to monitor your conversation with the mysterious man. It's really strange. I still don't know who he is, and I can't guess it. I think Mr. Enigma might like this puzzle very much, but it doesn't matter to me." The Joker said, "No matter who gave you the nuclear bomb, now that you have the big firecracker, you have to use it, right? You hid this beauty well, and refused to let others see her beauty. Shouldn't I pull her out? You have secretly mastered my nuclear bomb, the nuclear bomb that I hid so well, the real nuclear bomb." The Joker laughed wildly. "Bingo. That's right. When you are the most proud and happiest, when you reach the peak of your life, I will immediately blow up Metropolis. Then everyone will know that it was you who did it, and then you will immediately change from a gangster star who is about to take over the city to a fugitive who is worried all day long. Are you happy?" The Joker raised his hands, as if embracing the peak plan, and then quickly pinched his nose in disappointment. "Well, this is the original plan, you know, Bane. I've been investigating you ever since you released me from Arkham Asylum, and for the past few months I've been trying to recreate your little water dungeon in Penadero prison in Gotham Playground, and I've interviewed a lot of eyewitnesses in an attempt to make it a memorial to your failure." The Joker grabbed Bane's chin. "Just to let you see your foreseeable dream of becoming the king of Gotham shattered before your eyes. I even plan to let bats participate in the government's first phase of siege on you, and then blow you up into the sky while you are fighting fiercely, and then let everyone see what I have done to you." The Joker held up his corsage for Bane to see. "See this little fountain? It's filled with specially made corrosive acid, with a destructive solution specifically for plants, and Lazarus pool water that will make your half-rotten body suffer from excruciating pain. If I aim at you, it can eat through your temple and skin, and then go all the way down with your screams, eating your brain from both sides to the middle, and outlining a perfect smile on your extraordinary brain and strong muscles." He leaned in front of Bane and whispered lostly, "You can feel it gradually shutting down, Bane. Piece by piece, your intelligence and physical strength decrease over time, and you will fully feel your loss. You will have consciousness and pain until the end. You will become my new masterpiece, just for bats. This is my whole plan, my perfect and beautiful plan, Batman. The nuclear bomb interception system is ready." Poison Ivy's voice sounded quietly in Chen Tao's headphones. "If nothing unexpected happens, the nuclear weapons will climb upwards, leave the atmosphere, and then fall. And Poison Ivy's plants can help us detect the trajectory of the missile. You know, those plant pollen spores spread in the air. Lucius' voice came out from the side of the communication channel, and he said very quickly, "I'm sorry, I'm not a plant expert, and I really don't understand the principles, but in terms of effect, she is like a human sensing radar, or a humanoid plant sensing radar. In short, she is more accurate, and has a wider coverage than all our sensors. With poison ivy helping us locate, we can confirm the launch trajectory of all nuclear bombs in a very short time, but please note that we must not rule out the possibility that dozens of missiles are launched at the same time, to act as a smoker screen to ensure that the real one is not intercepted by our interceptor missiles." He said, "If it really comes to that time, Batman, you must intercept it yourself. Your nanobody flies very fast, is extremely tough, and is extremely agile. As long as you equip your head and chest with protection, you can surpass the performance of most aircraft and break the constraints of the atmosphere in a short time," Lucius said. "As long as the nuclear bomb does not fall from the atmosphere, it will not be at risk of exploding. As long as you can slow it down before it falls, or simply detonate it in outer space, the crisis will immediately disappear." At the same time as Lucius' words, the voice of the Joker rang out, "Look, what a perfect plan, but such a perfect and beautiful plan can't be done now, because of an accident. I'm so sad." The Joker said, "No more complicated and interesting plans, no more troubles. I'm going to launch a nuclear bomb directly." Chapter 91 The Death Seeker. No more games. What do you mean? Literally, but. The Joker looked a little dazed. He looked like he was dreaming. "No kidnapping, number 2 choice, let me guess. Do you think I would kidnap Robin? Do you think the place Robin stepped into now is a trap?" He laughed mockingly. "I have anticipated all the worst case scenarios, and made all the necessary preparations," Chen Tao said. The voices of Deadshot, Cheshire Cat and Killer Croc rang out from his headset. "Batman, there's nothing here, no Joker's men, and no traps that suddenly popped up. This is not what you expected. I know, the same old trick." The Joker sat on the ground a little depressed, leaning next to Bane who was kneeling on the ground and laughing silently. "I guess the Robin who walked in must be the Clayface in disguise. Since that incident, you won't let those children get hurt again." He looked at himself pitifully and said, "It's like you don't like me anymore." The Joker raised his head, and the crazy face he used to be on was surprisingly calm, and seemed a little weirdly sincere. "So we don't play games anymore, Batman? No giant laughing gas balloons, no bouncing dinosaurs, freaks, and circuses, no roses, beautiful big fireworks and birthday parties." He said, "Things are very simple now. The Metropolis will be destroyed, tens of millions of people will die, and you will kill me. You must not hesitate." Chen Tao pressed his headset hard. "Everyone." Lucius' voice sounded faster than his. Dozens of missiles were detected taking off from Gotham City. Cold sweat broke out on his face. "They are distributed in different locations in Gotham." He jumped up from his seat, threw himself in front of the computer, and yelled at the communication. "Poison Ivy, tell me their path." On the other side of Gotham, Poison Ivy, with her red hair flying, was sitting under a huge hemispherical machine. This was a technology from Mad Hatter Tech, a mind projection device that could read the most terminal and tiny signals in the human brain neurons and then convert them into visible information. "I'm checking. Don't rush me, I need time." Lucius on the other side looked up at the small bright spots rising from all corners of the city on the computer screen. "You'll have to hurry up," he said. "Our detector can only determine the approximate trajectory. We need more detailed data. The deviation should not exceed 1 centimeter. The more accurate the better, and we must not miss a single one." He flipped open the transparent cover on a red button on the table next to him, and then put his hand on it. "Hurry up, Poison Ivy. I need the most accurate number before launching all the interceptor missiles." "Shut up, I'm checking." Poison Ivy roared back. "Be quiet." Lucius saw that some of the dozens of missiles on the screen had fallen. The jamming devices they had deployed in the city had played a certain role, but no one dared to bet that the real nuclear warhead mixed in these dozens of missiles happened to be one of the ones that fell. He suppressed his anxiety. Although Batman had told him long ago that if there was a worst case scenario, it would definitely happen, and although he had prepared himself mentally before the incident, he still felt his hands shaking. He suddenly grabbed his wrist with his other hand and forced the trembling to stop. This hand will be used to press buttons in a while, so it must not shake, must not shake. He said to the communication, Batman, take the jammer I prepared for you. If the missiles are not completely blocked no. The Joker rushed over and hugged Chen Tao's legs. Don't do this, Batman. He shouted loudly, laughing wildly with sadness. Don't leave. I have paid so much for you. Kill me quickly. If I can die in your hands, it will be an extremely happy thing. This is the best ending for me. For a moment, Chen Tao really wanted to chop off the Joker's head with a knife. This should be very fast. Just condense the blade and then gently scrape it, but he resisted the urge. It's not because of the iron rule of not killing, but because he was afraid that if he killed the Joker nakedly, he would inhale some Joker gas and become a laughing bat, which would be troublesome. Who knows what the Joker has hidden in his body? If he wants to kill him, he must put him into the Crusher, invented by Lucius to kill him. As for whether he hesitated, absolutely not. Neither the Riddler's dark binding theory, nor the Joker's bad day, nor Batman's original slippery slope theory could bind him. Chen Tao knew very well that he was not a madman, and he would never become a scum or tyrant without bottom line, just because he killed the Joker. The Joker was not special. He was never special. He had already murdered him once. Let go. He kicked the Joker in the face. You stinky trash. You pervert. You are so disgusting. Don't come near me. Let go. No please. Let it all end like this. The Joker pleaded loudly. I'm the most special one. They all say you killed. His voice stopped abruptly, and he swallowed the half sentence he had not yet said back into his stomach. Chen Tao's heart moved slightly. The Joker continued to shout, as if nothing had happened. This is unfair. We've been together for so long, and I should be the first person you want to murder. I should be the one who started your fall, not someone else. I'm jealous and crazy. The first batch of missiles has been located. Lucius in the headset looked at the bright spot marked by a red dot on the computer screen and punched the red button fiercely. Launch. Batman. He said, you must be ready to fly out at any time to intercept any that may be missed. I know. Chen Tao kicked the Joker in the face again. Get out of here, you disgusting. No, I'm not disgusting. I'm your favorite. Chen Tao lost his patience. Silver white particles flashed, followed by the thick fist of Banebat. He squeezed his palm, and the next moment green appeared on his arm. The strange power and claws from the Bat Dragon and the Bane Bat overlapped, and the Joker flew back in one blow, like a cockroach on the ground. Chen Tao tried his best to control the force and not kill him. The Joker's attitude confirmed some of his guesses, but now was not the time to think about these. Often the simpler and crueler the plan, the more effective it is. If the Joker plans to play some tricks like kidnapping Robin, Chen Tao can handle it with ease because he can predict it. But directly launching, this is completely a test of Chen Tao's preparation in advance. If he is not fully prepared, he will fail immediately. I'll be there soon. He turned his head and said to Lucius in the communication, I will be able to soon, Batman. Chen Tao turned his head and the Joker climbed up from the ground with his whole body trembling. His strong muscles burst his clothes, exposing his pale body with red skin holes to the air. Chen Tao sank his face. Titan venom. I'm your favorite court jester. Sorry, Lucius, I may need 3 minutes. Chen Tao said, just 3 minutes. At the same time, in the Batcave, the Riddler Edward Nigma was locked up in a transparent cell by himself. He held a stack of files in his hand and sat in the corner as if he was forgotten by the whole world. But he stood up and walked to the tempered glass of the cell. Oh my god, he said. It's you, Joker. Chapter 92. 3 Clowns. I'm Chen Tao, and I'm also Batman. I recently discovered that in the universe I traveled through, there seems to be more than one Joker. I quickly guessed what the plot was. 3 Jokers. I thought that this relatively unpopular and unfinished publication 3 Jokers would not be reflected in the reality I live in. But I was wrong. Damn. Take a look at this file I found on the Bat computer. Over the years, the Jokers have been kidnapping people all over the city to try to create a better Joker. They let many people accept the compound. Doctors, criminals, people with different births. Each of them is a candidate for a better Joker. of course, except for the 3 strongest ones. Most of the jokers are defective, such as these. Joker number 28. Codename Surgeon. Joker number 6. Codename Cult Leader. Joker number 8. Codename Dentist. Oh, and now there are 2 more. Joker number 31. Codename Star Chaser. I tricked him into coming to Wayne Tower and threw him into the Lucius brand grinder and shredded him. And then there is this one. Joker number 32. I didn't think of his codename before, but now I have one. Joker number 32. Codename Death Wisher. He is a guy who wants to die. He sees death at the hands of Batman as the beginning of Batman's fall, and he wants to start this beginning by himself. But they are not the main guys. They are all pawns. I know who is the most dangerous character after reading the comics. Joker number 1. Criminal. Joker number 2. The Laugher. Joker number 3. Harlequin. Them. And when I'm on guard against Bane, I should also be on guard against them. It was a sunny morning. In the safest neighborhood of Gotham City, a simple city with honest folk customs, the Laugher drove a big purple truck, humming a leisurely tune, and stopped in front of a warm little house. He got out of the car and pushed open the door. Hey, honey, I'm back. He hung his hat on the hanger at the door and held his cane in his palm, with the sharp tip shining coldly. Oh, hello, dear. The hostess of the house showed a forced smile. I didn't expect you to come back so early, but dinner is ready. It smells so good. The clown said. He walked around the table twice, quietly looking at the 3 octopus rice on the table. The atmosphere seemed a little dull for some reason. I'm so glad that you are satisfied. But before the woman finished her words, she was interrupted by the clown. Where is the son? The woman trembled. Oh, of course. I'll go call him right away. She turned out of the living room as if escaping, and walked to the stairs on the 2nd floor, where the son of the family was curled up. Baby, your dad is back. I don't want to go down. The boy twitched in fear. Oh, I'm sorry, baby. You know, if your dad comes home and we don't want to have dinner with him, he will kill very sad. Tears flowed from the corners of the son's eyes. Why can't we just walk away? Listen, I know he's always not coming home, and it makes you angry, but he loves us deeply deeply. Please come down to dinner, just for me. The woman's calves were shaking. I can't keep him under the stairs much longer. Dear son, the food is getting cold. The Laugher's voice sounded. The son walked down. They returned to the living room together. You are here, children. I have many wonderful stories to tell you too. You will never believe what I have been through this week. He said excitedly. Son, why are you frowning? The woman hurriedly explained beside him. He doesn't like to eat octopus, that's all. He has always been very good, dear. Are you very good? That's great, son. Listen carefully, we have to relax our frowns. The clown said. How do you distinguish between the octopus triplets who look very similar? The answer is by touch. Ha 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 ha. You understand, right? Ha ha ha. The clown scooped up a spoonful of rice and stuffed it into his mouth. What are you doing? The Joker stopped his movements. The criminal's voice brought him back to reality. The Joker saw a dummy and a small pink teddy bear sitting on his left and right. There was no wife, no children. Everything was a dream. He said gloomily, I'm having dinner. Who am I eating with? The criminal asked, his hands behind his back. Myself. The Joker replied, ha. Who else but myself? The criminal walked around the table and put his hand on the dummy's shoulder. Don't touch her. The Joker said to the criminal. There is no such thing as her. The criminal said. No one but Batman. He kicked the dummy to the ground with 1 foot. One may have died, but you bet on 2 more at once. He said. One was sent to participate in Bane and Batman's mess, and the other was sent to the Batcave to confirm whether the previous Joker was killed by Batman himself. Genius idea. The Joker, codename Criminal, said. You bet on the strongest ones besides the 3 of us. It's a waste. You only dominated for such a short period of time, and you've already killed 1. If the remaining 2 you sent out all died, we would have no one to use. With a creak, the door was pushed open. The Joker walked in. Oh my god. The beating has already started. I hope I'm not late. He walked to the side of the Joker, codename Criminal, with a smile on his face. Compared with the Joker and the criminal, he seemed more humorous and more vicious. If everyone is dead, then is it my turn to go out and play? Not sure, you lunatic. The Joker answered him, Batman won't guess our purpose. He said, I don't believe Batman really killed one of us. He repeated, unless I get evidence, I won't believe it. Oh poor little Eddie, when all the players in Arkham Asylum go to the party together, why are you the only one left here alone? The Joker walked to the door of the Riddler's cell. Is it because Batman doesn't want to play with you? The Riddler had a blank expression. The Joker continued, oh, Eddie, our little Eddie, you are always 10 steps ahead of others. Why don't you come out of that little room? There is still a lot to do, and a lot to say. We can join forces to find Batman for the first time in a long time. You can find the key card in the leftmost drawer of the Bat computer. The Riddler told him. Come on. The Joker said, what's the fun of that? Let's try something advanced. How long have you been locked up here? For God's sake, you are the Riddler. Don't pretend that you didn't plan a way out the first night you got here. I know you are much better. Thank you very much for the starting point coins. Woo woo woo. Chapter 93 Remarks on the release. Thank you very much for following me here. If you can see this author's words, it means that at this moment, you have finished reading the last chapter at 11:58 p.m. on Thursday, and have contributed an effective follow-up to this book. I really thank you all for your willingness to follow me to the latest chapter when the author updates so slowly. I really appreciate it. The author is a part-time worker. Under the premise of ensuring quality, time is tight and the task is heavy. Sometimes it is really difficult to achieve the effective burst update. But today I caught up with this small climax. This is really a kind of luck. Although this book failed to impact Sanjiang this time, the author will definitely work hard to break through himself and strive to write better and more chapters. Well, the author paused here. There are some things I want to say, but the author doesn't know how to say it. Frankly speaking, the success rate of this impact on Sanjiang is very slim. I knew it from the beginning. The author is not a smart or talented person. After 3 years in the industry, he is still a pure rookie. But this time I am so close to Sanjiang. So close. Regret? There should be. But I want to say, I have never doubted myself. When the average score was 300, it was not the case. When no one responded to me, and I wrote 1 million words alone, it was still the same. I'm a person with very poor talent. This poor talent means that, if others work hard for 1 point, they can get 100% results. If I work hard for 1 point, I'm afraid I can only get 1 point. And I'm a lucky person. In life, isn't it the greatest blessing, to be able to reap a harvest for every effort? I'm deeply grateful that I'm qualified to work hard, although I'm still a rookie who can only update twice a day. Haha. To be honest, in the online writing industry, you seem to see a lot of geniuses that you can't come into contact with in your daily life. Wow, you are so ashamed to see them. This is amazing. You have read the teaching aids to pieces, patted the railings, and tried your best to come up with things, but others may be able to come up with them with just a snap of their heads. When you read what he wrote, you can't imagine it at all. How can a human brain imagine such a thing? You have almost spent your whole life studying story strategy, writer's journey and Save the Cat. They don't need supplementary books at all. They rely on their talent and become super gods, leaving you behind and shouting fuck. Alas, to be honest, when I was a reader, I thought it was easy to be an author. It seems a bit exaggerated to say that I'm inferior to others in every way, but sometimes I still feel a little sad because of my stupidity. But it doesn't matter. I'm good friends with talented players. Putting aside the identity of authors, we have a good personal relationship. Although I can't imitate them, talented players can't be analyzed, let alone imitated. But I never doubt myself. I always believe that I can do it. My current results are much better than before. I want to be a paid player, although I'm still very bad and can only update twice a day. Shameless. Hahaha. Well, after all, in this industry, I think the most important thing is, when you witness the huge gap called talent with your own eyes, do you have the courage to take a step towards the sky like a flower growing on a cliff? I often have a feeling that fate whispers to the warrior. It asks me to overcome self-doubt, overcome fear, and move towards the goal. And I respond to it every time. Haha, this seems a bit second year. All in all, Sanjiang is gone this time. The next step is to launch an impact on the boutique. I wish you all, on the road of life, to have a goal in life, to have a response for your efforts, and to have hope in life. Please keep accompanying me in the future. Well, it's time to go to bed. The above was written last night, and this is the author at noon today. What the hell did I write last night? Forget it, at least I wrote it myself, so I'll post it. Anyway, there are 2 more tonight. Tomorrow, Saturday, there will be more. Guilty. Chapter 94 ending. First order request. With a bang, the Joker fell to the ground. His pale half face was deformed and twisted under the effect of the venom, like a cream cake that was inflated and swollen. Now, this cream cake has been cut open, revealing dark red and bright yellow grease. Poison ivy. It's the last moment. Hurry up and locate. Wait, it's almost done. Poison Ivy's voice came. I'm done. Lucius stared at the many bright spots flashing on the screen. Okay, 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 okay. He whispered to himself, then opened his eyes, punched the launch button, and said to the communication, Batman, have you finished with the Joker? If there are any fish that slipped through the net, you may be needed. I'm ready. Chen Tao told him, in every sense. He turned his head and looked at the Joker lying on the ground in a big letter shape, his face full of the aftermath of being beaten up. I lost. The Joker said. But you refused to kill me. Woo woo woo. He sobbed and sobbed. Why can't it be me? You make me sick. Chen Tao said. Don't act like a complete failure, Joker. Do you think I don't know what you are planning? The Joker lying on the ground turned his face away. You don't care about Bane. You don't care about the little fight between him and me. All this is just a game to you. You can play the game at any time. You don't care about winning or losing. Chen Tao said, the only thing you care about is the game itself. What you can't accept is that the game has the risk of never being played again. For the first time in so many years, you have a clear purpose, Joker, which is why I can predict you this time. The Joker curled up on the ground. At the same time, we switch the perspective back to the Batcave. If you want me to get involved in your business, Joker, the Riddler said, no way. He was wearing a dark yellow prison uniform full of question marks. It was strange that, even though he was imprisoned by Batman, he still got this very personal clothing as a privilege. I won't take the initiative to intervene in your game with bats. If I want to play, I will go to him myself, and to be honest, I don't play games anymore. Riddler said, I want to retire. PFFT. Don't lie, old Eddie please. I'm here to do business today. Don't make me laugh anymore. A mocking smile appeared on the clown's face. He said he was laughing, and his face was indeed laughing, but he didn't look like he was smiling at all. He was just full of malice. Riddler stared at his face. He said slowly, what do you want to do? A gas bomb with a smiley face appeared in the clown's hand. Yes, I will make things more interesting. You lunatic. Riddler quickly retreated to the side of the cell. His face was ugly. You damned, this formula may be older and the effect has weakened, but if you wait a few more minutes, it will still be very powerful. As the clown said, he directly threw the gas bomb into the Riddler's room through the vent above the transparent cell. Stop it, clown, you lunatic, cough cough cough. Green poisonous gas quickly exploded in the room. Ha 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 ha. That's right, you come out in person, this is the point. The Joker pressed his face tightly against the transparent glass wall. After all, if you're not in good condition, I don't want to bring you to the party, right? Green mist rose in the room, making the Joker's face hazy. You have always had great potential, and that's what I love most about you. No one has ever pushed bats to the extreme like you do, and except you, no one has ever possessed the wisdom to match the great Bat King. Amid the Riddler's violent coughing, the Joker shouted, if you don't give him a hint, he will never find you, isn't it? You always focus on the most important game, just like me. Oh, Eddie, your mind is your most dangerous weapon, and in this respect, you are better than all of us. You are the master of riddles in this evil city, smarter, better, and more dangerous than Batman. So, why are you still wasting your life here, Eddie? I really can't bear to see you become like this. I would rather you die. The Joker said, and now it's almost time for you. Sizzle. The transparent glass door was opened, and the Riddler stood in the middle of the separated Joker gas. "There are 46 ways to leave this cell, Joker," the Riddler said, "and only 4 of them can be completed within the time limit you set. The easiest is to use the most labor-saving force technique to hit the weak part of the glass. But I chose method 3. The Joker forced his own smile. "Ha ha ha, I knew it. I knew you have never changed. You can always be one step ahead of others. 4 hours ago, I dug a hole in the wall," the Riddler said. He looked at the cell's access control. "I changed the circuit of the gate through this hole." The Joker's face changed slightly. "And the tool I used to dig the wall was an iron spoon. This is unreasonable. Batman would not be stupid enough to give a Riddler an iron spoon." The Joker didn't want to listen to what he said next. He turned around and ran away decisively. He took a step with his thin legs, jumped nimbly, and directly climbed over the fence, and jumped up the stairs in 2 or 3 steps. That was the door to leave the Batcave, and also the entrance for him to come in. The Riddler lowered his head. Why were all the Arkham lunatics mobilized to deal with Bane, but I was the only one left in the Batcave? Why isn't Robin here, and his butler isn't here either? The Riddler's voice rang out from behind. "So do you understand, Joker? For so many years, I have always refused to admit that Batman is smarter than me, and even now I refuse to admit it. But I still have to say, in some places, Batman's wisdom does surpass mine, such as in his understanding of you. He said you would definitely come to confirm whether the Joker was killed before. He said you would definitely come to confirm it with your own eyes. He told me a lot about you, or you all." Beep. Squeak. A noisy mechanical sound sounded, as if some huge machine was running. The Joker's fingertips touched the door handle. Beep. Click. Then the next second, the world turned upside down in front of the Joker. The stairs rolled back, and with a mechanical sound, they threw the Joker back to the ground like a ladle. The ground opened and sank, swallowing the Joker like an insect trapped in amber. With the sound of springs, the floor closed again, as if nothing had happened. "You always think about games, Joker." The Riddler stood there quietly, "But there are no more games. Not for me, Batman, Bane, or all of us. You have been abandoned. From the beginning to the end, you are the only one who wants to play games. You think that as another player in the game, it is impossible for me to cooperate with the final boss. But this is a fallacy." The Riddler lowered his eyebrows. The Bat computer issued a synthetic voice. "The air purification system has been activated. Removing the remaining Joker gas. Completed." It said cheerfully, "I wish you a good afternoon without the Joker. The upright, once gentle man." The Riddler hummed in a low voice. "Down the perilous path, down the valley of death. The waddling serpent, humble, move slowly. And the righteous rage in the wilds. Their lions roam." The Riddler sings from William Blake's The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. Chapter 95. The Expected Change. Subscription required. It is 3 o'clock in the morning, and the city of Batman is brightly lit. Chen Tao just received a communication from the Riddler. Mr. Enigma has obediently locked himself back in the transparent cell, and by the way, he used wall putty to repair the hole he dug with the iron spoon. The Riddler is one of the smartest people in the world, and he knows everything. So it makes sense that he can repair the wall, right? Both clowns have been captured alive. Now there is only the nuclear bomb, probably. Chen Tao thought silently. He sat on the floor of Arkham Asylum to recuperate, next to Bane who fell to the ground and the Joker who was beaten and seriously injured by him after using Titan Venom. The 2 muscular men were piled together naked, and the Joker's body was leaking a little bit due to the lack of venom, and then he was pressed under Bane. It didn't take much effort for him to defeat the Joker, and Bane seemed to be finished. But Chen Tao still seized every opportunity to rest as much as possible. Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne, having lost Bane's control, stood there stupidly, like a pair of parents waiting for their children to come home from kindergarten. 80% of the missiles have been destroyed. Lucius' voice shouted in the communication. 84%. He said very quickly, 86%. Batman, if the missiles are not completely destroyed before they fly out of the atmosphere. 92%. He said loudly, well done, Poison Ivy. 98%. Chen Tao silently listened to his increasingly loud voice, which rushed out of the headset, and shouted with Lucius' heart beating. Then, finally, 100%. Chen Tao heard Lucius excitedly say, "We won." He sat in his seat, like he was exhausted, panting loudly. "I can't believe we did it. We planned for so long," Lucius said. "With so many pre-made missiles, even the most advanced anti-missile interception system needs a bit of luck to intercept them all," he exclaimed in amazement, and then praised Poison Ivy. Then he heard Batman say to him, "Lucius, you used up all the interceptor missiles, right?" Lucius was stunned. "Yes," he said, "but we intercepted all the missiles. The worst case scenario you mentioned before did not happen." Chen Tao sighed. "In Gotham, if there is a worst case scenario, it will definitely happen." Lucius heard him make a conclusion first, and then continued, "Check the satellite detection images, Lucius." He heard the other party say, "Did you see the nuclear flash of the nuclear bomb explosion up there?" Lucius' heart jumped. He rushed to the satellite control console, and then saw that the satellite map was empty, and he couldn't help but be stunned. Just now he was too ecstatic, but ignored an obvious fact. Even if the interceptor missile successfully intercepted the nuclear weapon, they should be able to hear the sound at such a close distance. And now it is silent, which means the nuclear bomb is not among the missiles we intercepted. Lucius groaned. "Oh my god. What's going on? This means the worst has happened." Chen Tao sighed heavily. "The Joker has been fooled. Someone is using him to distract us, and use him to force us to reveal our cards," he said, "and we cannot ignore the possibility that nuclear warheads may really be in these missiles, so we must intercept them all with the interceptor missiles we have prepared. And once all our interceptor missiles are used up, the person behind the scenes can calmly launch real nuclear bombs." Lucius' voice trembled a little. "But this is unreasonable. Who can do this? Who can use the Joker and play him in the palm of their hand? Who can plan such a meticulous plan? How can he be sure that everything will develop as he expected? How did he hide his existence from our obviously?" Chen Tao answered him, "A person who has been in front of us from the beginning." Chen Tao stared at Bane lying on the Joker in front of him. The other party seemed to be still immersed in the effect of laughing gas, and his smile stretched from the corners of his mouth to his ears. His smile was humorous and witty, and his smile was innocent and kind. "A person who seems to have been knocked down by a clown." He continued, "In this world, the more complex the plan, the greater the benefits, but also the easier it is to fail. This is because there are too many variables in a complex plan, and the planners have too poor control over the entire plan, so they often fail. But if you look at it from another angle, if someone can completely control every corner of a complex plan, firmly grasp the most critical link in the entire plan, fully control the actions of a scapegoat, and then stand up at the last moment to reap everything, then in theory, a super complex plan will be easier to achieve his goal than a simple and crude horizontal push." Lucius said, "I think I understand what you mean." Chen Tao turned Lucius's voice to speakerphone. "But who is this person? Who is this person who controls everything behind the scenes? Yeah, I'm curious too." Chen Tao stared at Bane lying on the ground. Who could this person be? There was a dead silence. The air was silent, breathing with Chen Tao. Then, the world was stripped of that layer of bizarre veil. "Huh, it's me." The twisted smile on Bane's face suddenly disappeared. He got up from the ground with an expressionless face, and his rough skin rubbed against the floor, making a low rustling sound. "This is your real way to weaken me, right?" Chen Tao looked at him without surprise. "The poison that could destroy my body after drinking it just now was just a cover, right?" "Of course, my bad." Bane answered him, always so sharp. He said, "I have studied your nanobody, the body composed of unknown high technology, which is obviously out of the scope of human beings. Unfortunately, I did hope to make such a cup of poison, to make such a cup for you." He emphasized on you. "But unfortunately, I really don't have any attainments in microengineering." He said sincerely, "If there is a next time, I will definitely learn it. But now." Bane suppressed his excitement and joy. His tone was calm and steady, and he tried his best to keep his voice free of any emotional fluctuations. He didn't want to show the ugly face of his conspiracy in front of Batman. He didn't want to show those murderous, high-pitched, and gentle moans in front of Batman. "You have to stop the real nuclear bomb. You alone can do it." Bane said, "You have to meet it head on." I know. Chen Tao answered him in a low voice. He muttered, I knew it a long time ago. Things will always turn out like this. There will always be the worst. Always like this. I really can't write anymore. My mind is blank. Tomorrow is Saturday. Extra chapters. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96, Putting on the Black Robe Again. I'm Chen Tao, a time traveler. I have considered countless times whether my behavior is really normal. Am I influenced by those Batman memories? Is it because of them that I changed my ways and became more and more crazy? Look at what I'm going to do now. I'm going to intercept a nuclear bomb, completely voluntarily, premeditated, and deliberately careless. Damn, I have completely turned into Batman, and that mask with pointy ears is really a damn magic. Damn, what kind of lunatic would anticipate the situation of his own body receiving a nuclear bomb? It's like a person standing on the edge of a cliff, secretly expecting that he will fall off. This is definitely a pathological self-destructive tendency. So now, you start to question your motives again. Your body is honestly making all kinds of preparations, and then you start to doubt your brain. Don't be funny. You say to yourself, once the arrow is shot, there is no turning back. No matter what, this is my decision. Chen Tao's decision. I have decided to intercept the bomb myself, in the worst possible scenario, when all my cards have been exhausted, when I have no other choice, and at the risk of being killed. Now is the time to act on my decision. So the predictable fear shocks your body like a pacemaker. I have modified the design of the nuclear bomb. It is no longer a weapon for ground strikes. It is a weapon made for you, Bane said. The world distorts in front of your eyes, and Bane's voice is stretched and distorted in your ears. You hear Bane say, its radar is set to track Batman. And you know you are Batman. It's terrible. Lucius' voice sounded in the headset. I understand what Bane means. That is, this nuclear bomb is now being launched according to the predetermined trajectory. If we ignore it, it will raise the Metropolis to the ground, and if you want to push it off the track and throw it out of the earth, it is impossible, because this nuclear bomb is set to track you, and once you get close to it, it will explode. He spoke a little incoherently, and the language processing was not brain processing, but at least he barely explained the current situation. Then the voice of the butler Alfred sounded in the channel. Master, I have heard the general situation. You don't have to rely on yourself. His face with a candle head hood appeared on the two-dimensional projection screen, and there were two stupid claws standing behind him. Young Robin stood safely behind him, and all crises and dangers were far away from him. Alfred's tone was very calm, and he looked very rational, even with a relaxed smile on his face. We must have other ways. We can think of other ways. For example, drones. Bane named me. Chen Tao whispered to him. Wouldn't he have thought of this? Drones can't adapt to an environment like leaving the atmosphere. Needless to say, this is a great gift prepared for me. Alfred was silent for a moment, and then quickly said, then there are some other ways. Man-Bat, a human-faced bat. He can also fly. So you don't care about the life and death of Man-Bat? Without a nanobody, to face a nuclear bomb explosion, he will definitely die. Although Chen Tao doesn't mind finding a scapegoat, the most important thing is, how can the flying speed of the human-faced bat catch up with the missile? Then we can find another. Chen Tao took a deep breath. Alfred, I've imagined this situation, okay? He told Alfred, it's nothing more than facing the explosion of a nuclear bomb. He organized his words. I have some special abilities, Nano Batman or something. Alfred whispered back, I know, sir. Although you didn't take the initiative to tell me about them, and I wouldn't ask deliberately, but there is no doubt that I know. Chen Tao continued, I have imagined the scene of a nuclear bomb explosion. As long as I can transform into a hybrid of a car and a nanobody at the same time, plus the amber gold of the Owlbat to save my life, even if I face a nuclear bomb, our chief scientist has helped me calculate the relevant values. I will not die. At most I will be weakened. He stretched out his hand. One hand turned into the black sand of the broken bat, and the other hand condensed into a green dinosaur claw, and then smoothly turned into a car tire under his control. His temple throbbed with pain, but this time, the two overlapping transformations did not collapse. Lucius' voice confirmed beside him. Alfred, Bruce didn't let me tell you before, mainly because he was afraid that you would worry, and this is just a plan for the worst case scenario. Although now, he said in a dull tone, this worst case scenario has become a reality. Alfred was silent for a while. You never told me before that you wanted to take the nuclear bomb head on. He turned his head suddenly and looked at Robin, who was standing next to him. Tim, you know about this, right? You didn't tell me. You didn't dare to tell me. He didn't even call Tim master like usual. Tim remained silent. Alfred turned his head and said dejectedly, have you tried it? Chen Tao was speechless. Oh my god, you haven't tried it, have you? You're not sure if you can survive a nuclear bomb. It's not that exaggerated. Chen Tao told him, according to numerical calculations, as long as I'm not at the center, the shockwave and heat energy are not enough to destroy me. Of course, radiation has no effect on me. Chen Tao wasted a while, and then suddenly realized that these could not dispel Alfred's worries, so he stopped explaining and finally said, I'm sorry, Alfred. I'm afraid I have to go. After all, this is Batman's responsibility. Chen Tao could hear every word he said clearly. And I am. No, you can't. You are not him. He is dead. He is finally dead. He finally got what he wanted and died together with the monsters in exhaustion. Alfred finally broke out. His whole body was shaking and he could no longer maintain his forced smile. This city has given you back to me. Gotham has given me back the little boy named Bruce Wayne who died with his parents in Crime Alley. You finally let it go. You can finally sleep. You're finally at peace, my child. He stretched out his hand carefully, as if he wanted to touch Bruce's face through the screen, as if he was touching some fragile porcelain. My life has been full of ups and downs, and my scarred child, you've suffered so much. You don't have to. You don't need to. He clenched his fists, as if he could desperately hold on to his Bruce, as if Chen Tao would turn into a bat and fly away in the next second. Please, damn it. You don't have to be a bat monster in black anymore. The old man seemed to have used up his last bit of strength. His legs softened, and he collapsed to the ground. Please. There are others. Others can go. You don't owe this city anything. You don't owe anyone. You should live a normal life. This city, or other cities, what happens to them has nothing to do with you. He uttered two indistinct sobs. Under the light, half of Chen Tao's face was hidden in the shadows. Nuclear bomb explosion. World destruction. None of these are your responsibility. He said, you promised to retire with me. It's always like this. It has happened too many times. The son of Gotham put on his uniform again. The dead bat monster revived, and he had to watch Bruce Wayne on the verge of death again. This is undoubtedly the cruelest torture in Alfred's life. For this, I'm deeply sorry. Alfred, I'm Batman. Chen Tao always felt that there was a sense of destiny in these words. They looked at each other in silence. Lucius' voice also rang in Chen Tao's ears at this time. We detected it, the nuclear bomb. He said somewhat sadly, but we no longer have interceptor missiles. So, I know. The Dark Knight took a deep breath, bowed his head heavily, and sighed. When he raised his head, Alfred saw the raging fire that burned everything roaring fiercely in his eyes. He was familiar with that look. He was too familiar with that look. That look was unique to Batman. In the past years, he had seen such a look countless times. Aloof and awe-inspiring, contemptuous, and sharp. Chapter 97 The Loud Bang. Self-belief, awareness, responsibility, courage, hope. Those complex inner emotions. Boom. Violent explosion. You are in the center of trillions of suns. These concepts are too far away, so far away that you can't touch them with your eyes wide open, but they are breathing in your ears when you feel them. So you don't say anything. The flames surge through you, the shockwaves surge through you, the air surges through you, the radiation surges through you, the breeze and the sunlight surge through you. But there is nothing to stop. This is outer space. The glow of the Milky Way and billions of stars is immersed in the endless light. They are mixed, and at the same time they flow through your soul in another form and echo. Poison Ivy got down from the hemispherical mind-sharing machine, and her body shook involuntarily. Harley Quinn, who had never dared to disturb her, rushed over to support her. Batman. Is Batman back? Holly shook her head. She turned on the communication and shouted to Lucius, "Hey, you noisy squirrel scientist, is Batman still alive? Lower the altitude of the plane." The Penguin shouted loudly to the five-faced man Harvey Dent, and then Harvey Dent screamed at the ventriloquist, and finally it was the ventriloquist's turn to howl loudly at the pilot of the plane. The gangster brother acting as the pilot pulled the joystick, and then the three gangsters rolled on a sofa. The storm gradually subsided. "How is Batman?" The Penguin was the first to get up. He said a little dizzy, "Is he still alive?" Then they heard Harley Quinn's question in the communication. No response. The three of them waited for 5 or 6 minutes together, but still no response. "Oh my god. God bless Batman and never die." Penguin said, "Batman is a good man, the Virgin Mary bless him." As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately turned his head away. "Oh, this feels so weird." Then he turned his head and saw the bat doll in the ventriloquist's hand lying on the ground, and the ventriloquist was howling at the toy. "Woo woo woo. But how can I live without you?" Two-Face Harvey Dent threw his dice again and again, slapping himself every time he threw it. Penguin understood that Two-Face's brain was a little broken. When he was Two-Face before, no matter what he did, he gave himself a multiple choice question with 2 options, but now the options for this multiple choice question had become 5, so he was forced to put some meaningless options in addition to the normal options. And his luck is not very good now. He threw the option of, "slap yourself," several times in a row. Penguin found that he was actually the most normal one among the 3 people present. He said to Harvey, "Can I ask what your other 4 options are?" Rush to Arkham to avenge Batman, escape from Gotham, kneel and lick Bane, howl with the ventriloquist. Five-faced Harvey Dent answered him, and then threw his dice again. Then the Penguin saw him stand up straight, and just when he thought that the other party was going to rush to avenge Batman, he saw Harvey walk to the side of the ventriloquist and kneel down side by side with him. "Woo woo woo, but without you, I can." The Penguin blinked his eyes. Then the string in his mind suddenly snapped. He suddenly found that he seemed to have nothing else to do except praying. So he also knelt down beside the five-faced Harvey Dent, and the 3 gangsters howled at the Batman doll in unison. "Woo woo woo. But without you, I can." The plane was suddenly filled with crying. "Enough, you're making too much noise." Harley Quinn was annoyed by the crying of 3 old men in the communication channel. Her voice came out from the loudspeaker on the plane. "You cry every day and night. Can you cry Bane to death?" "Woo wah wah wah." A louder cry came from the communication channel. It was Clayface. This guy was completely immersed in the role and played a grief-stricken Robin. "No, Batman. You are the dawn of my life. You gave me Robin's dream. Your existence saved this city, and in every darkest midnight, it was you who enlightened everyone's direction." The real Robin, Tim Drake, began to doubt himself after hearing it in the communication channel. Clayface was still howling. "You are the torchbearer. You are the guide. You are the meaning of my life. Oh my god. Oh my earth. Robin cannot lose Batman, just like the Jews cannot lose Jerusalem." He cried more sadly than the real Robin, and anyone who heard it would be sad and cry. Who would not give a thumbs up and praise him as a filial Robin? Tim, who was already a little sad, got goosebumps all over his body after hearing this. Don't argue with a madman. Don't argue with a madman. He hypnotized himself, then took a deep breath, patted his forehead to calm himself down, turned around and asked in the communication channel, "Chief Scientist, have you detected any signs of life from Batman?" "No." Lucius' voice was muffled. "Absolutely not. This is unreasonable. I believe Batman will not, and according to my calculations, he will not." Robin turned his head to look at Alfred immediately. He saw the old butler collapsed on the ground, his eyes tightly closed, not saying a word. "It shouldn't be a big problem, right?" He immediately turned to the communicator and said, "The life detection equipment won't detect him so quickly. It'll take a while, right?" "Indeed." Robin wasn't sure for a moment whether this was Lucius's comfort or was really the case. Batman is not really gone, is he? Killer Croc said in the communication channel. That's all. Let's divide our luggage and go our separate ways. He muttered. I'll go back to my crocodile gang and bite people again. Cheshire Cat, you go back to Africa, get married and have children. Deadshot, you go back to your hometown and see your daughter. We'll make a big family, sell the Batplane, and buy a solid gold coffin for Master Batman. Anyway, without Batman, our lives will be the same, right? Nothing has changed, and there will never be any change. Deadshot looked at him. What do you mean, Killer Croc? I mean, we are going to fucking kill Bane. The strong thug opened his mouth, revealing a mouthful of sharp teeth. I'm very happy working for Batman. I've been getting paid a lot of money these days, and my life is much better than when I was in the sewer picking up garbage to eat. He said, I'm not a good person, and I will never be a good person. But now I really want to bite off Bane's head. He said in the communication channel. Is anyone joining me? Chapter 98. I killed Batman. Boom. The loud bang resounded throughout Bane's entire cochlea. He took out the instrument from Martha Wayne's belly and watched it, waiting quietly. He curled up in a corner that could hold his whole body. He had long thought that his clothes would be damaged in the battle, so he stored many tools he needed in Batman's biological mother's belly in advance. In order to ensure safety, he waited for a long time. However, there was no sign of life detected on the instrument at all. The time had been long enough, and it seemed that all the facts had gradually become clear. Bane's face was tense. Puff. He sneered. He calmly twisted his upturned lips to calm them down. Oh, God. This is not the effect of laughing gas. Puff. Bane chuckled again, and then the corners of his mouth gradually widened. I won. He whispered in the empty Arkham Asylum. He paced back and forth in the clean corridor, and waved his arms excitedly. The strong and powerful fist squeezed the air, making a light sound of air exploding. It was not easy. Moonlight shone into the building from the hole in the ceiling where Batman had just crashed through and flew out. What a magnificent scene, just like a fantasy story. I really won. His voice had a hint of crying that he himself did not realize. I killed Batman. Ho ho ho. I killed Batman. No way. Bane paused. He turned his head and saw the Joker, who had barely regained consciousness, turned over and faced the ceiling, gasping for air. Batman will not be defeated by you, you rubbish. Bane's face darkened. He walked up to the Joker, grabbed his collar, and lifted him up. Are you blind? Can't you notice this fact? I won. I killed Batman with my trick. Ridiculous. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Bane, I didn't expect you to have a talent for telling jokes. The Joker laughed twice, and then spat out 2 mouthfuls of bloody foam from his mouth, faintly mixed with some fragments. But this joke is really too bad. Even I can't tell it. He was beaten badly by Batman, and was seriously injured. Batman will never lose. Are you a fool? I defeated Batman. Batman will never be defeated. The Joker said, even if he has fallen, he wants to fall, and needs to fall. You are a fool. He vomited another mouthful of blood. Batman will defeat you. Bane threw him to the corner. You are just a loser who is unwilling to accept the facts. And the fact is that I won. This city belongs to me. He no longer paid attention to the clown lying in the corner and vomiting blood, and jumped directly from the hole in the ceiling to the roof, and then jumped to the highest point in 3 or 2 steps. I rule the night. There is no Batman anymore. I destroyed him. I rule the streets. I rule Gotham. I'm revenge. I'm darkness. I'm Bane. I'm the king of Gotham. Bane howled at the moon and announced to the whole city, I'm the king of Gotham. Tada. His movements paused. Tada. The sound sounded like a sound of footsteps, the kind of uniform footsteps. Tada. A claw walked out from behind the building, followed by more than 10 companions, who surged out like a tide. Killer Croc swung his tail, jumped over the gaps between several buildings, and landed on all 4s on the roof not far from him. Deadshot, carrying a short distance flight backpack, paused in midair like an astronaut jumping on the moon, and then landed lightly on the building next to him. The Cheshire Cat appeared silently next to him, and Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy each drove a huge vine monster, crawling over from the top of the building like 2 big spiders. Robin carried the Firefly, and the sick and exhausted Mr. Freeze limped behind with his freezing gun, followed by Man-Bat, Copperhead, Black Spider, and a large number of Arkham villains who were still able to move. These unruly Arkham villains were silent, and there was a special force that gathered them and brought them here. "It's you," Bane said. "You defeated generals. How dare you show up in front of me? This city has given us a lot." The Penguin leaned on his cane and brought the fat man to the roof with his two-sharp claws. He dusted himself off, and his pointed black leather boots made a thumping sound on the roof tiles. The ventriloquist and the five-faced man stood beside him, and Arnold held two Thompson submachine guns. "Now it's time to give her back, Arkham people," Penguin said. Today when Batman is not here, at this moment. Now it's the villain's turn to save the city. Stupid." His voice was quickly rebuked by Bane with a louder roar. "Do you really know who I am? Do you really understand me? I defeated Batman. Anyone can be defeated. It's not difficult to do. But I have won. I defeated him," he said. "Since you are afraid of Batman, how dare you not fear me?" Branches were condensed from half of his body and thrown at the claws. These branches would explode when inserted into the claws' bodies, and then take root and grow in their bodies in just a few tens of seconds, and then grow a beautiful flower. But the claws were not afraid at all. A cold wave attacked Bane. Mr. Freeze stood in front of Bane surrounded by many claws with a freezing gun. He was beaten very badly by Bane just now, and half of his arm was drooping softly. He shot a cold breath at Bane with an expressionless face. "You are looking for death." Bane looked at him steadily and said, "You will all die. Batman's death is only the beginning of many deaths. You, Killer Croc, Deadshot, Ventriloquist. I will kill you all." Bane's eyes swept over everyone standing opposite him. "After killing all of you, I will immediately kill the butler and Robin," he said. "I will hang all of you. I will gently pull your feet until I can hear the pleasant cracking sound from your neck," he announced. "You can't stop me. No one can stop me anymore. My victory is an irrefutable fact. When Gotham surrenders to me, I will stand on the head of one of the gargoyles, looking down at those poor citizens." His voice was like a tsunami, like a landslide, like all the natural disasters people can think of. They will all look up at the sky, waiting for the moment when the signal light comes on, praying to see that light, praying that Batman can save them. But they only see me. Only Bane. And I'm Bane. Okay. I know you're Bane. I know that." Then Bane heard a voice behind his head. The voice that made him shudder and shake all over. "But I think you forgot. I'm Batman. I did it. I didn't break my promise. I'm so awesome. Woo." Chapter 99 King vs King. Bane often felt like he was shouting in a deserted wilderness. The hazy mist gathered into waves and oceans, rolling in the inky black night. His life was like an isolated island in the ocean. He ran, he jumped, he flew, he struggled through the vortex of clouds and rain, thinking he would catch that ray of light. But everything was still silent. He felt like he was falling. Just like that time, this moment. Intense rage. Plants exploded from half of his body again. His muscles withered, broken and dry, and were sucked dry by the plants living on his body in just a few seconds. However, in the next second, under the pumping of venom, his muscles recovered in an instant, expanding, winding, and more majestic than before. "Little Red, can't you control the green on his body?" Harry whispered to Poison Ivy. "Then I can't cast magic on him." Poison Ivy automatically understood her crazy words. "I don't know, but I'm afraid not. These plants have undergone some changes that I don't quite understand. They are no longer like plants, but like part of a living person," she said hesitantly. "This is part of an unstable chain reaction. In fact, I think Bane's way of using these plants is not the same as those I controlled before, but no matter what, it's obvious." Poison Ivy said. "He has turned himself into a wizard. Strictly speaking, he can now be considered a wizard. In the application of elemental power, he can even." Before she finished speaking, she saw the plants curled up and tied up Bane's body, and then wrapped around Bane's flesh like muscle fibers, turning into wood texture. Then the next second, his arm swung out to his side like a stretched 9-section whip, and half of the building collapsed like a building block with a loud bang. Bane's roar shook the earth. "Batman, look at me. wizard, but the main attack method is still fists, Holly said. Bane heard Batman's chuckle, that contemptuous, undisguised challenge. He fought back angrily, and the twisted and extended fist, carrying unmatched strange power, only hit the empty air. Bane was furious, and continued to be furious. He rationally controlled his anger, and half of his body responded to him. His arms seemed to have become a little longer, but definitely not thinner. In the increasingly powerful anger, his punches became more and more gentle. Compared with the straight attack, it was more like a fluttering ribbon, and it seemed to have no lethality at all. But the broken bricks in the ground, that was cracked like tofu by his long whip-like arms, always reminded everyone, this is definitely not the caress of a lover. Harley Quinn commented, it's like whipping a fart with a whip in a sex game. Poison Ivy skillfully tied her up like a dumpling. Death Shooter raised his shockwave weapon, and aimed it at Bane, who was still attacking the invisible shadow Batman. Just as he was about to pull the trigger, he saw Mr. Freeze holding the freezing gun across his face. What do you mean? He asked. Shh, Mr. Freeze said. Be quiet, sharpshooter. Don't disturb their fight. Didn't you notice that the claws have retreated? I know. Death Shooter answered him, but I thought it was just because they were not qualified to participate in close combat. Don't worry, I'm very confident that I will never miss, even if two of them are fighting each other. Then Death Shooter saw that the people of Arkham looked at him indifferently, except for the Clayface who cosplayed himself as Robin. What's wrong with you? What do you mean? I think. Poison Ivy said. A vine rose from the ground beside her and woven into a chair. She first hung Harley Quinn, who was tied up like a dumpling and whimpering, on it, and then sat on the chair herself. You'd better not interfere. Deadshot wanted to say something, but then a hand was placed on his shoulder. We have been working together for a while, Floyard. The ventriloquist stood behind him. The old man hunched over, but didn't look at him at all. I heard that you were born in Gotham, but you spend most of your time in other places, so you may not understand what's going on here in Gotham. Then let us explain it to you, he said in a rhythmic tone. Don't get involved in their fight. His glasses reflected Bane, who was still waving his fist. After all, this is King versus King, isn't it? Mr. Freeze said, with a click. He used force and expressionless face to put his broken arm back to its original shape. What a mess. Deadshot said. Did Batman hire us to stand by and cheer? He turned to look at the Cheshire Cat. Shouldn't we give Bat some remote support? The Cheshire Cat hesitated and said, I think so too. You think so too, right, Killer Croc? Deadshot turned to Killer Croc and said, what the hell is this? King against King, too? No. Killer Croc, who seemed to like money, said to Deadshot, you should let Bat fight one-on-one. If outsiders intervene, it would be too disrespectful. Deadshot was silent. For the first time, he looked at these teammates standing with them so seriously again. He originally thought that a guy like Killer Croc who liked money so much would definitely agree with what he said, but he was wrong. Then in an instant, he suddenly realized the nature of these people. In the moonlight, he saw the shadows of the Arkham people were stretched, projecting twisted and crawling animal shadows on the ground. This is not a group of people, but a group of beasts. A group of beasts practicing the law of the jungle in modern society. So the Deadshot realized, this is indeed a group of lunatics, and he didn't realize it before. He has been with this group of people for too long, making money with them, being bribed with them, being coerced with them, and watching them being trained with his own eyes. He always felt that they were just ordinary people like himself, after taking off the mysterious veil. But he was wrong. He was wrong to a certain extent. So he lowered the muzzle of the gun, and muttered to himself in a low voice, what kind of monster leader have you become, Batman? He whispered to himself, fighting with the dragon for too long, you will become a dragon yourself. Staring into the abyss for too long, the abyss will stare back. He stared at the fast flickering black shadow in a low voice, you terrible dragon. You dragon. The righteous warrior Bane roared, come out, face me, why don't you dare? Then his action stopped the next second. He saw the black mist rising in front of him, and a giant dragon really appeared in front of him. Its lower body was a massive black mist with a few rubber tires vaguely emerging from it, and its upper body was a green ferocious dinosaur mouth. The venom tube was connected to the top of his head. The dinosaur claws matched with car parts stretched out, and the black mist extended from his back like open wings. He heard a low and hoarse voice say, "I'm here at the call." So now it is a warrior challenging the dragon. Woo woo woo. Thank the great evil god on horseback for the reward. Chapter 100. The Warrior's Defeat. Warning. Warning. Batman number 52. Your danger level has increased. You have been upgraded from no level to F level. The silver white font of the Alfred protocol stopped on Chen Tao's retina, and the huge stinging feeling that ran through his brain disappeared, replaced by a clear mind. This is impossible. Bane was a little numb. He didn't know how many times he had said this word, perhaps dozens, perhaps hundreds. But do you know what is different from the past? He no longer has any trump cards. He is at his wit's end. He said, no matter what, you can't be unscathed under such a close-range nuclear bomb explosion. Frustration. Intense frustration. Bane looked at the dragon that finally appeared in front of him. All the appearance features of Batman were different from what he had seen before, but there was only one thing that had never changed. Eyes. Those indifferent eyes. Eyes that looked down from above. Those contemptuous eyes, the smile hidden deep in them, always mocked his powerless struggle. He said, I have clearly calculated that even a nanobody would. It would also be seriously injured, right? Chen Tao answered him. His voice became more dull and deafening after he transformed into a dinosaur. Actually, I'm curious about one thing. Look at what you have on you, Bane. Amber gold, Titan venom, the green of all things, the black of decay. You borrowed my power. Bane immediately realized without him saying, venom? But he immediately continued, but even so, it's not that bad. Super double venom, Chen Tao said, I captured your subordinate, nicknamed Zombie, remember? So what? You are just. I controlled him with the Mad Hatter's chip, and provided him with the most advanced laboratory and instruments. The drugs made in that place are much higher in purity and mildness than those made in your small workshop. Bane was speechless for a moment. He originally thought that the other party would say something like my willpower is stronger, I have overcome the venom, venom makes me stronger, etc., which might make him feel better. Venom is indeed affected by purity. Although high purity venom will greatly test the user's body, it will undoubtedly bring more powerful power. You only rely on these. And the amber gold. Chen Tao said like a treasure, and the water from the Lazarus pool. And the protective clothing prepared in advance, Chen Tao explained. It's better to say that it's protective armor than protective clothing. The cost is at least more than $2 billion, which is about the same as the most expensive fighter. Chen Tao added in his heart, there is also the body of the immortal clawbat zombie. And Dr. Phosphorus. Bane turned his head and saw that Dr. Phosphorus was indeed missing from the Arkham people. Chen Tao explained, like Atomic Skull, Dr. Phosphorus is also a superhuman who can absorb the energy of nuclear bomb explosions. His power also comes from nuclear energy. Although his combat power is not strong, he is like a large rechargeable battery. Bane knew that he had underestimated the opponent. But I clearly defeated him on the way here like many Arkham people. Mr. Skeleton is just a tool man. We only need him to absorb energy. It doesn't matter how he is beaten. He is just one of many tools. Do you need me to tell you in detail how much preparation I have made for this? Bane stopped talking because he didn't need to know how Batman escaped, because all this happened and didn't help the current situation at all. But he still couldn't help asking. He knew very well that this was a frustrated and lost emotion. He analyzed his mind very clearly, but he couldn't control himself. He knew that he couldn't let this emotion control him anymore. So, is it the end now? He asked. Is this the final battle? No doubt. Chen Tao answered him. Do you have any other trump cards? Bane responded with silence. Of course not. I failed. Being pushed to the edge by Batman, all my plans were in vain. I was surrounded by Bat's people, and Bat became stronger. The chances of winning were slim. Bane closed his eyes, and then opened them. But, I was still there. There was a tsunami surging in his eyes. Bane was still there. You think you can win? Bane's eyes flickered like stars in the dark night. Those failures could not knock him down. I know who I am. You think I will definitely lose? I'm Bane. I'm a warrior of justice. I will defeat the dragon. I know that the only one in the world who can defeat me is him. But you raised your fist and prepared for a fierce battle. You roared, and the long accumulated anger was smoothly released under the control of your calm mind. The thick green color, like ink, made half of your body appear lush green. More green leaves grew from the woody muscles and spread to the top of your head. You roared. Under the bright moonlight, the warrior rushed towards the dragon alone. But, in vain. You can't defeat him. Once again, you reviewed all the options, and all the options point to the same ending, which is your end. You punch the giant dinosaur in the face. But before your fist touched the skin, the huge dragon face disintegrated into black mist and flowed around your fist. Then the next second, your chest was gently touched by a sharp blade. Crunch, squeak, 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 like a saw sawing through iron sheets. The sound is saw. It's useless. You roared. You can't do anything to me. Before you finished speaking, your whole body was entangled by countless black sands. Then you saw countless car parts metal mixed with the green muscle tissue of the dinosaur and many miscellaneous venom infusion tubes, condensed into a terrible fist in front of you. Then the next moment, the world was shaken, and blood filled your lips and nostrils. One of your ribs buckles into your lungs, and you take deep breaths, but to no avail. The edges of your vision begin to warp, then blur, then dim. You fight back, you always fight back. But it always ends the same way. Darkness rushes in, your breath stops, and the world becomes dark. You fall to the ground. You see the black blade slide across your chest again, making a teeth grinding sound, like cutting steel and gnawing wood. The aftermath pours down on the Arkham Asylum ward next door, splitting the huge floor in two, and then collapsing with a loud noise, raising a cloud of dust. Your consciousness is blurred. You hear the illusory singing. Through me, you will enter the city of weeping. Through me, you will enter endless suffering. Before me, there was no form. Those who come, abandon all hope. Then you fall to the ground, and your body is scattered in the darkness of the wilderness. You feel a little warm and relieved. Note, the poem that Bane heard was from Dant's Divine Comedy. Great. I finally finished it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.